Welcome to Learn How to Trade, formerly known as the Midday Show. That is your girl Adara. I'm Sharif, and as per usual, we're gonna wait for the chat to populate and for people to move over from the other stream. We already got Oil Nick in the house, as well as Callum Mitchell Miller, and of course, we got Bears versus Bulls, who's always on point there. You're not the best moderator in the world, Cal Canis. It is Bears versus Bulls. There we go. We got Mateus Lane. We got Vin. We got Darwin. Raphael in the house. Pitchbull. Greg Moore. Wuko? I like that name. Market Sniper. Vita Loca. James Dell. David Worrell. Juan Padilla. Bob Dub. KK. KK's in the house, baby. Big Eddie R, as well as Nimit. My man Nimit's in the house as well. Patrick Langlois. Hans Beer, Pillsbury, CompuCare, and then the names are just moving too quick. I see Stephanie. Let's see that name. Dad Trader, Futures Trader Extraordinaire, guys. Thanks for joining us. Happy New Year to everybody. I hope 2024 brings you a whole lot of prosperity. You're improving your trading, you're improving your relations with everybody, and you're just overall happier, wealthier, and healthier. All right, guys, we are brought to you by Search Trader, account funding of up to $1 million. Keep up to 90% of the profit. Enjoy relaxed trading rules with an 8% max trailing drawdown on all new accounts. Shout out to the folks there at Search Trader, who, by the way, still have their trading contest, have extended that into the month of January. $1,000 cash is the top prize. You get 100,000 fake dollars, and you try to do the best you can and see how you fare against everybody else. Adara, hi.
Hi.
How was your New Year's?
My New Year's was good. I did nothing. I rested. Very eventful, but you know, sometimes it's needed. I'm not going to sit here and complain.
Of course.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for what 2024 has to offer. How are you? How was the skiing?
It was really good. Went up to Blue Mountain, skied, stayed at a really nice place. So my niece's best friend, her dad, owns the entire Blue Mountain town. It's like Blue Mountain Village. He owns the entire thing. Okay, so sweet. All the hotels, like right at the foot of the ski resort, all like the shops. He doesn't own all the shops. He leases the space, obviously. So yeah. So we did like a lot of back tour viewing and stuff like that. It was really cool. It was a good time. Stayed up there. My cousin has, my cousin's wife actually has a cottage up there, so we did New Year's Eve fam jam up there after that. So that was pretty cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was a good time. First New Year's Eve since I was 18, no alky. Zero alky by design. Felt great. Went to the gym the next day, been functioning like a human being, not like
that's always nice.
Taking,
right?
taking usually a couple of days off to kind of recoup a little bit, but not today, guys. All right, what we are talking about is as follows. We're going to talk about scanners today. So scanners are typically what I use to find my small cap gappers, but that's not the only use that they can be used for. So many different types of scanners out there. We're going to be talking about some of them today. I hope that is a topic that interests you because a lot of you guys have been asking about this specific topic for a while. We're also going to have the topic of watch lists coming up in the rest of the week as well. We're going to have news blotters. So, typically what Adara uses every morning to generate that watch list. Brendo used to use the same thing. We're going to be talking about basically how to find what is moving, what's popping off on the day, and all the different methods you can use. Today, we're going to talk about scanners. Let's go. So, I'm going to be showing you some trade idea scanners, and then I'll be showing you some of my own. Fabian, please. There we go. All right, so this one here, you can see, I don't know if you can see the top of the name. This one is called Biggest Gainers by Percentage. And this is typically just how I find my small cap gappers. So today, there's been a few small cap gappers that are moving, and it has been continuing with the trend that we ended up in we ended 2023 with. Look at these monsters that are moving on the day. There's 4 of them that I'm watching on the day. POL up 82%. CDIO up 40%. CDIO is real good today. NGM up 51.33%. And LBPH kind of doing the dance here. A bit of an ABCD pattern on LBPH, hanging around that $17 level. Skyrocketed to 2150 earlier, up 183 cool points on the day. These are the 4 that I'm viewing at the moment, small cap gappers, and I got all of them off my scanner. So here's what I have, and we're going to talk a little bit just about the basics of the columns that I have on my scanner, what I want to see, and what the data that I just want to have right away. First of all, obviously goes without saying, is the price and the symbol and the up change percentage since the previous close. Okay, so those 3 right away. You want to know what's moving, the name of the ticker that's moving, the price of the ticker, and what it's up by in terms of percentage versus what it closed out at last. But here's what I also add. I want to know what the change percentage since open is. So the change percentage since previous close is either 4 o'clock the previous day. Okay, so if it was on today, it would be what it closed out on Friday, or some other programs start from 4 a.m. this morning. It really depends on the program that you're using. None of them are the exact same, okay? So with respect to change percentage, it's either 4 a.m. this morning or 4 p.m. the previous day. So I want to know what it started doing since the bell rung today, 9:30. Did it continue up? Did it start giving back the go? So I need to be able to compare these 2 columns in a heartbeat right away. Change since close and change since open. And you can already see Pole is already gapping up stronger since the bell rung than it did on Friday at 4 o'clock. So basically comparing it to that price, okay? So that is a column that I add into there. Obviously it goes without saying, I want to see how much volume it's doing. Right? Very important indicator, both for confirmation, for other reasons. We talked about volume umpteen amount of times. So the other column I got there is volume. Then what I want to see the average volume. What is the stock typically doing on a regular day? And then each one is different. So the average volume, you could set it over whatever period. Is it a 5-day period? A 365-day period? You change what duration the average volume is. So you're comparing today's volume to some other time period. You decide what that time period is. You want to put 2 weeks, you want to put a month, you want to put a year, what have you. So this one, the NOS boss helped me set this bad boy up. So the NOS boss and I decided that 5 days was what I wanted to compare it to. So just looking at POL today, it's done 11 million shares. Compare that to the 5 million right there, okay? That it typically does on a 5-day basis. And then this over here is proprietary to Trade Ideas. It shows you what the percentage is since the open price. So this over here, this white column with the green in it, essentially, if it's all the way right, that means it is at its highest point in the day. Like this one over here, PYPD, it's at its highest point in the day. And this is what the green bar column over whatever this over here represents. So if it's more towards the middle, that means, you know, it's at its midpoint in the day. If it's at its all the way at the left, it's at its lowest point in the day. All right, so this is kind of what I want to know, what the stock is doing at any moment in time relative to what it's been doing on the day. Then the other column right next to it is relative volume. So important. Everybody and their mother's third cousin talks about relative volume. RVol, right? You hear the Kenobi talking about it. You hear the big boys, the big kahunas talk about RVol. So I want to see what this is doing in terms of relative volume. Now, relative volume is another one of those ones where you just determine the duration. Is it relative volume on a yearly basis, 6 months basis, whatever? This one is set for the yearly basis. So whereas you can see here, POL, its 5-day average of volume is around 5 million. It's done 11 today, but that would be typically 2 times, a little bit more than 2 times RVol. But when we compare the RVol over here, it says almost 30, 29.15. Well, how come? Because the RVol is set for yearly while the average volume is set for 5 days. So there is a bit of discrepancy between those two, but if you set it up, you know what's good. And then the 5-minute volume. I want to know, did this stock move at 9:35 or 10 p.m. this morning, or is it doing the majority of its volume now? And so the volume in the last 5 minutes is important to me, because if I want to see what's doing volume currently, what's really starting to get going, I can filter, or I can sort, I should say, by volume over the last 5 minutes. And that kind of helps me realize what's moving recently, not what's moved earlier or what moved a couple hours ago. That interests me less, okay? And then the gap percentage up on the day. What did it open at today versus what it closed out on the previous trading day? So the reason gaps are important is because a lot of people want to trade gaps. They want to trade gap fills, right? So you want to take something short from where it currently is trading versus where it closed out last. So a lot of the gap filled traders always have this column over here. Now, if you're looking the other way, if you're not looking for gaps to get filled, if you're looking for, say, continuation gaps or initiation gaps, we'll talk about that on our week on gaps, you're going to be looking for the widest gap here to trade, because those are typically continuation gaps. Those are gaps that are not exhausted, that there's going to be upward price action subsequent to their happening. So those are the columns that I have here set up on this bad boy, this particular gap, or this particular biggest gainer scanner. Now, with respect to how I set up some of my other scanners, this is my own proprietary scanner over here, and you'll see it's a little bit different, right? There's a lot of overlap, right? Change percentage, but you'll also see here the after hours change. So a lot of the times when I get home and I sit down after I'm I've hit the gym and I've done my rounds at work and stuff like that, I want to sit down, I want to see what's moving in the after hours. And that basically calculates the percentage change from 4 p.m. to whatever time you're looking at it prior to 8 p.m. because 8 p.m. is when we close out after market hours. So after hours change percentage, important for me, especially during earnings season when you want to see what's moving after 4 o'clock. So I always keep that bad boy up there. Volume, average volume, and 5-minute volume all the same. However, on this particular scanner, I add 3 more things. I want to see what the 52-week high is and the 52-week low is, so I can just get an idea what this small cap gapper has been doing the last year. Has it been moving? Are there been outlying days, or is this one just kind of really getting its feet under it? Because with a lot of these small cap gappers, what happens is they run up, they have a few good days, we don't hear from them for like 3-4 months, then all of a sudden they're back again. If it's one of those, if it's a former runner, I want to know right away by looking at the scanner without even analyzing the chart. And the 52-week high and the 52-week low will help me determine that right away. For example, if I'm looking at LBPH today, it's at 17 bucks, okay? Look, the 52-week high was 1030. So I know that this is at 52-week highs by some, and then even some more. So, I can kind of look at all these different data points without even having to look at the chart. And then obviously on the very right column, it shows me if the stock is shortable or not. That's not really important for our purposes here, because for Day Trade the World, we have access to almost every type of short you can think, and at really reasonable prices too. So those are the typical things that you include in the what we call a gap scanner, a biggest percentage gainer scanner. But there are so many different types of scanners, guys. It's not just for small cap gappers that are moving up on the day. You can do the exact opposite, biggest percentage loser. Let's look at some of the other options we have here. So you have the top is top percentage gainers. Click this bad boy, and then all of a sudden you've got top percentage losers, and it's going to populate a whole bunch of different stuff here with red on the way. So this is great for those who are looking for the small cap gappers to give up their big move from the day prior. A lot of the times we see, let's just call it Kodak or DWAX or whatever. Anyway, any of these big moves that they have on Monday, they could give up more than the entire move on Tuesday. And if you're a short inclined trader, you're going to want this scanner. So look at this, AVXL, down 33% on above average volume, done 4.19 million shares today. It typically does 1.12. So we know that this one is big boy down on the day. I'm talking about AVXL. Another type of scanner, the most active So the most active names, the one that have done the most amount of volume. I just finished telling you that volume is so important to look at. This one basically just searches for what is doing the most amount of volume. And you'll see some of the ETFs are doing the most. The SQQQ, surprise, surprise, right? The NQ is down 1 2/3 on the day. The thing that's doing the most amount of shares right now is the SQQQs with 64.1 million shares. Not far behind is the SOXS, which is basically the inverse, I believe, ETF for the semis. This one is a 3 times bear semi. This one's doing just barely less than the SQQQ. It's doing 63 million shares, right? What's up? You're good? Okay. 63 million shares because, well, semis have been absolutely destroyed today. NVIDIA, 3%. AMD, 5.5%. Intel, 4 1/5. You guys get it. So this one is very important because it's doing a lot of shares. Then Mara. Mara's done 54.7 million shares. So I don't even need to see Mara's price action. I know that the Katina Man has been printed on the short on Mara. You guys saw that on the morning show. It's done 54, almost 55 million shares, even though it's gapping up on the day still by 1 1/5. Look at what it's done since the open. And that's what the whole point of having changed since open column is done. It's down 10 3/4. So there's so many different types of gap scanners that you can focus on that really help you narrow what you want to trade. You just have to play around with all of them, and you have to apprise yourself with all of them. But there's some basic stuff here, Dara, with respect to columns that you always want to have.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's interesting too, like talking, I think some of the columns that I look for when I'm making the watch list, and it's a little bit different as well, because the watch list, obviously I'm going to be, maybe trading some of these names, but I do most of my trading on the midday, right? So when I'm making the watch list, I'm thinking about what everybody is going to kind of want to trade as well, right? So when I'm making it, I'm looking at these columns, but I'm also looking for what kind of names are people going to be more interested in, right? So then one of the big things that I was taught by Brendan when I started doing the watch list is what I'm kind of looking for is it moving, is there volume, and is there a story? Because you don't always need a catalyst, but I think, if there is a catalyst, it's probably stronger, and maybe you'll get a bigger move out of it, right? So that's usually, that's always what I'm looking for in terms of, what's moving, is there a story? So for example, today on the watch list, we had crypto. I'll actually just pull up the watch list. Let's go. Let's shout out the watch list here. So the watch list, if I can pull this up today, you can just go to tradertv.live for that watch list. But let me see if I can pull mine up here. Here we go. So, so we started here with crypto stocks and Apple. And so for me, with crypto, we had that move up to 45,000. So you're also, for me, I'm not always just looking at the stocks first too. I'm also looking at what kind of stories do we have, and then do we have, movement and volume to support those stories, because that kind of helps me form the watch list as well. Crypto, we did have that move, and then we had all of these, like Mara, as Sharif was just saying, Mara was moving to the upside, Coin, Riot, all of these associated names. So that was going to be a huge one on the watch list for me. Apple also, with that downgrade from Barclays, that was going to be significant as well, right? So it's kind of, for me, a little bit more a combination of finding these stories and then also cross-referencing that with what is actually moving and what has significant volume. Because I really appreciate you, Sharif, as well, bringing up volume, because that's a huge thing for me when I'm looking for stuff on the watch list as well. And I always say this, if something's below 1 million, it doesn't matter how cool the catalyst is, it's a little bit harder to trade, right? And so different people are going to have different, parameters for what volume they're interested in as well, right? And that's also going to be a caveat for the watch list, or I guess for any watch list for me personally, right? The names that I'm going to trade are going to be different from the names that Sharif will trade or the names that you'll trade. And that's why Sharif going over the small caps is going to be, not everybody's going to trade small caps. I'm not necessarily a small cap trader. So I think it's really important to also look for the type of names that you're interested in, and then keep an eye on that as well. That would be my, watch list highlights right now. Shout out to Bears versus Bulls in the chat. Thank you so much for mentioning the watch list. I also think too, one thing I want to bring up too, is this is a big thing that I learned early on. I mean, I'm still very fresh to trading, and I'm still in the sim, but I think one thing that I found really helpful is reflecting on your watch list around 11, because a lot of the names you might have put on there that were moving early on might not be moving later in the day or in the same way. Thank you for that, the bang button there. Because early on what I would do is I'd be like, oh, this thing got a downgrade, and then come 11, it's not in play anymore. Yeah. So it's really important to kind of reflect and see, is this still moving? Why is it still moving? A big example here too, because other catalysts can come in midday. I see Sharif is in Pfizer right now. I got into Moderna a little bit earlier, and I can talk about this trade later, but the reason I brought it up now is because Moderna started moving basically right at open. So if you're doing a pre-market watch list, Moderna might not have been on your radar. But we did have some strong catalysts from Moderna with regards to the Oppenheimer upgrade, with regards to its notice to shareholders saying it's going to be more profitable, right? So I think it's important to kind of update that watch list and make sure it's getting some TLC in the midday as well.
Yeah, okay, so let's go over some other types of scanners. You can come to just stay on the screen. Here are some of the major ones that are offered by Trade Ideas, and this is all available to you guys for 20% off. Make sure to check out tradeideas.com and use the code tradertv.live for 25% off. The one that you see here, the one that I've got, is biggest gainers. That's kind of what I want to see for small cap cappers. But that isn't really the only one that's available. There's daily gainers, weekly gainers, monthly gainers, top dollar gainers, up from the pivot. Like, remember how we talked about R2, right? And this one basically up from there. Up percentage in the last 5 minutes, up percentage in the last 15 minutes, last hour, etc. So gainers is not just restricted to what started to move up at 4 a.m. or 9:30. It's basically whatever you want it to be, and that's why Trade Ideas allows you to kind of narrow that down. And for all those people that already have Trade Ideas, all I'm really doing is I'm loading up the scanner screen, which I've amalgamated with other screens over here. And right at the top of the scanner, you have a little bit of a drop-down list, and then you can see number 4 on the list there is gainers, and then you have an arrow which allows you to select many different types of derivatives of the top gainer scanner. By extension, top percentage losers. All right, what's going on over here? Top percentage losers. Okay, it's freezing on me. Let me just see what is going on here. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, I'll have to send it to you.
Yeah, for sure. I think it is being able to have access to what's gaining or losing is important too, because I think as well, like having the access to things that are gaining, especially if you're looking for small caps, can be super important. But also, I mean, like with regards to shorts, it's nice to know kind of what are the biggest losers of the day, and then you can kind of see if there's a story there, because also sometimes things can rebound as well, right? Like we can have a negative catalyst and the stock can kind of reverse, and the same with positive catalysts as well. But I think that's why looking at the negative catalyst too can be super important for getting a sense of what the market's doing and what specific stocks are doing as well. So I think too, like that's one way that having a watch list and knowing catalysts and what's actually moving can help in addition to the chart. And I appreciate Sharif going over that with regards to volume, because you can get a good sense too through volume without even looking at a chart sometimes. What are things moving? Like what percentage is it at? Then you can go and start charting it. Yeah. So I'll use even Moderna as an example here. This one was moving. We had a catalyst. I saw it come up in Trade Ideas while I was at the big desk, and then I put a flag up about it from the big desk. And I think what's interesting here too with Moderna, beyond the fact that we did have that positive catalyst, right? It came up on the scanner, but also then you look at the chart and you see actually, we did. That's why I got in on this. It was on my radar because it was on my watch list. We also had this nice like flat top here with higher lows, and then we shot up to the upside. So I got involved in that, just slightly below where the top was. It had ended up working out to the positive, but it's like the chart movement was just kind of aiding me with regards to what I was already seeing in the watch list, right? So what I'm trying to say is I think sometimes even without the chart, you can kind of get a sense of what's moving and why just by looking at the scanners and seeing, what is in play, and then you can find out a way to play it. So find out what's in play first sometimes, and then figure out your game plan with that in mind.
You're still struggling with your voice, eh?
I think it was fine until like 2 seconds ago, but it's been,
I feel bad. I feel
it's okay.
because
I think my throat is like bullying me at this point, but
Your what?
My throat's like bullying me, I swear. Yeah.
All right, sorry guys, it crashed on me here, so I had to reset the scanner. But here's another really good scanner. Remember that week we were talking about Bollinger Bands? Well, look at this one. This one, it's called range bound to above the upper daily Bollinger Band. And what you're looking for here are stocks that are hugging the upper side of the Bollinger Band. Now, if you're a mean reversion trader and you're setting up for, you want something that's gonna reject off a particular level, this is probably what you're looking for. You're looking for something touching the upper Bollinger Band, waiting for perhaps that new 5-minute candle to make a new low, or whatever your trading setup is. This one will show you all the different stocks that are hugging the upper Bollinger Band. I think this is great stuff here, man. Look at this, SLNH. Brings that to you right there. It's hugging the upper Bollinger Band, as you can see. CELU, same thing, touching that upper Bollinger Band. But you'll be able to see that these ones are low on volume. So you can actually basically filter out only stocks that are doing above a certain amount of volume. And that's what I want to get to for the next one. So I showed you how to kind of look at some of these top percentage gainers, but I didn't give you any of the details that I filter out for. So let's go into that, because I think that's really important right now. So number one, if you've been watching the show, you know that I filter typically anything south of 85 pennies. And the reason is I don't want to trade anything south of $1. That's just a personal decision. However, I want to know about the ones that are coming into that $1 level, because the $1 break can often be quite fruitful and quite, it can be a great rewarding trade. So on this particular one, I filter price and I choose the greater than amount, and then I put it 0.85. So this will show me every type of stock that's moving up above 85 pennies. But volume is also an important thing for me, because I don't want anything that's doing about 10, 15,000 shares. That is not a recipe that I want to particularly that's not a setup, that I want to particularly get myself involved in. It's too illiquid, and sometimes with larger shares, you have trouble getting out. So the volume, I search for anything above 250,000 shares. Now, you can have one that is, customized to the pre-market, where you have a lesser amount of volume as your cutoff, and then you can have a different one that starts and triggers after 9:30 that has a higher threshold for volume. And so I have that set up on mine. You don't have to do that, but I mean, especially if you're not trading pre-market, that's kind of irrelevant too. So two factors here that variables that I amend are the price, to make sure that I'm filtering everything below 85 pennies, and volume, I'm filtering everything below 250,000 shares. So those are the two that I use for my gap scanner. But the gap scanner is just one type of scanner that we're talking about. All right, beyond that, right, we talked about ranges. So you can have anything stuck to the upper end of the Bollinger Band. If you're looking for a bounce trade and you want things that are sticking to the lower end of the Bollinger Band, there you go. Select that bad boy here. Let's see what this ID is doing. Sticking to the lower end of the Bollinger Band is ID. The ticker is right here, is ID. Hold into that lower end of the Bollinger Band. I'm not saying this is a good setup. You're going to have to go through every particular one to know if it's a good setup, but this is the whole point of being able to narrow these trades, so you can kind of figure out, okay, this one's tradable, this one's not so tradable, this one fits within my parameters, this one doesn't. And I would really suggest that you involve volume here, because some of these are just so sparsely traded, the ones that I'm going through on the list here. Very lightly traded and typically wouldn't fit my parameters. But DBO, again, another interesting one here, really hugging the lower end of the Bollinger Band. So many different ones here with trade ideas to be able to use. Ranges, volume, look at this, volume leaders, relative volume leaders, 5-minute volume best, 15-minute volume burst, These ones are the ones that are popping off with higher volume within the last 5 minutes, last 15 minutes. You want to know kind of what's running in the moment. Oftentimes when we get a news catalyst, we often see the price action first, and then we get the actual news headline later. With volume, you're going to know about the actual move before you get it on your news blotter. That's been typical with me. Like, how often have you seen me on the show be like, what the hell is Meta doing? Why is Meta popping up $3 in the last 30 seconds or last minute? And I'll be looking at my news blotter, and I won't see an entry on my news blotter to justify the move. So oftentimes, the news comes a little bit later for whatever reason, but you want to know about the actual move in real time. Volume scanners and gap scanners are how you're going to know that, because it doesn't wait for the news catalyst to come in. It'll just pop up once the requisite amount of volume is done. So those are the scanners that I like particularly watch. We're going to talk about more as the show goes on. There's just so many more to talk about here: movers, gaps, volume, and all the derivatives thereof. But any questions, yeah, throw them in the chat. Be happy to answer them for you. All right, here we go. Nick Dub, could you talk about swing trades? Do a segment on that. I do some day trading, some swing trading, some of the ideas of all you've been very profitable when they've been mentioned swings. Yeah, so I reached out to the NOS boss to see if he can come in on the midday, talking about Michael Noss, of course, and see if we can have him, give us some good ideas for some of his swing trade scanners. He's shown me one. It's called the VWAP retracement scanner. I'll get to that later, but we want to know about how he finds his particular swing trades, and so hopefully we'll be able to get him on. And when we do, I'll let you know. Big Adam Deuce, what's up, my man? What's going on with Arsenal, man? Two L's in a row. I'm not pleased about that. Are you using Bollinger Bands now? I've got them on my side charts here. I don't typically use them intraday trading. I like to see where my swing trades are relative to Bollinger Bands. But yeah, I know a lot of people love to use them intraday. I'm not one of those guys. But the scanner that I just showed you would be great if you were one of those intraday Bollinger Band users and you want to know what was extended or what was depressed to the downside. The Bollinger Band scanner using the Trade Idea software is a hell of a one. Make sure to give that check. Just in time, Sharif, can you show them the free float filter and the scan and how it relates? I don't have that set up, but I will look into that. Thank you for the suggestion just in time. I will look at that and I will try to load it up while Adair is speaking here. And yeah, Nick Sanders, it's not a good look for my Arsenal boys there, sadly, at the moment. BA pumping up here, according to Boris. Let's have a look at Boeing, what it's doing, getting the shaft today from Goldman, taking it off its favorites list, down 2.5%. Adara holding that 253 bottom, now knocking the door of that 254.25.
Yeah, no, I'm just looking at this Boeing. Yeah, we look like the plane lost one of the wings here a little bit. We're teetering a little bit. I mean, we are on the downside. But yeah, it's interesting too, because I was looking into this as well, because this one was on the watch list, bringing it back to watch list. And apparently, so Goldman Sachs says it's not actually, it's not necessarily a downgrade. It's just a removal from its conviction list, which is kind of an interesting one. So I guess they are a little bit less confident putting it on the convictions list, because the conviction list is specifically has to do with, I guess, their returns or their, I guess, what they think the returns will be. So I guess they're less confident in Boeing's returns, but they haven't changed the rating on it. So I just think that's kind of an interesting food for thought there. But if we look at the daily, I was talking about Boeing. We were both talking a lot about Boeing last week, and Boeing has been crazy strong, but we did have that consolidative top. And then Boeing teetered a little bit to the downside. Like, we had this beautiful flight path to the upside. Now it looks like the future is a little bit uncertain. I would say kind of an interesting level for Boeing just to watch out for as we go to the downside. Resistance can become support. We did have a bit of a double top around that 238 area. So I would watch Boeing for 238. Who knows if we'll get to that level, but I just think it's kind of an interesting level that for what it's worth that I'm seeing here, that I would be keeping an eye on. But yeah, Boeing, that move up from October 27th to I guess, yeah, like that December 28th area. So there's about less than 2 months. That crazy move to the upside, definitely worth noting. I would not count Boeing out just yet, but yeah, we have been moving to the downside as of lately, and I think that Goldman, as Sharif put it, getting the shaft from Goldman definitely continued this a little bit of a descent here. The plane's been landed for the time being here on Boeing. Also, I have a question for you.
Sure.
With regards to these scanners, or I guess kind of a question and a reflection, because you mentioned as well, Michael Noss. So I guess the 5-day volume scanners, so that would be the day that you choose for volume, that would depend on what kind of trade you're doing, right? So for swing, it'd be a little bit different, and longer term, it would be different as well.
Yeah,
okay.
No question about that. Like, I think
sense.
your parameters for swing trades should be markedly different than your parameters for day trades. But I don't necessarily think that, not looking at the particular day's volume should be important for swing trading, because oftentimes swing trading, the entry is as important as the idea itself.
Okay.
Right? So if you have above average volume that day, your parameters are going to be a little bit different. You may be getting in at an extended or depressed levels, depending if we're moving up or down on the day.
Okay.
So I wouldn't remove it.
Okay.
I'd have it, but I would include other things.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To keep my eye on.
That makes sense. Or like increase the amount of days you're looking at. Because
Right.
you said 5 days. Okay, that's why I was curious.
Bang.
Perfect. Thank you.
Let's look at the futures here because we did get a bit of a bounce here on the futures market. I'm talking about the NQ. The NQ broke down. Fabian, if you're able, thank you. I know Fabian is alone today, so we're going to have to be really patient with him. He has to do everything on his own because Ram, I don't know what, she's tap dancing somewhere. NQ broke down below 16.7, but then it found its footing immediately once it broke down below that 16.685 is the low. Now we're pumping back up into 16.770, so almost about a 100-point recovery so far. However, couple of things. Firstly, there is this level with which to contend here, the 16.7 and 788. This will be like kind of like the flat top, or this will be like the higher high because this is a crest over here. But it's this level that I really am worried about, this 16.8 level. 16.8 and VWAP happen to both be at the same level at the moment, so there's some good confluence between those two when you have the 100-point level and VWAP at the same time. Then you also have this kind of flat bottom from around 8 a.m. to 16.825, let's say. So we're below everything right now. The green line is a pivot point. The red dotted line is support 1, and the orange dotted line is support 2. We're below everything and VWAP. So very negative day on the NQ, 1.5%. So anything moving up here, be suspicious of it, especially at key resistance levels, 100-point areas, key resistance levels on the price action as well as VWAP. So be careful with that. But yeah, decent move up on the markets here. Apple recovering from that 185 dip. Apple now at that 187.25. We'll see what Apple's able to do on the day, but it got a downgrade today from, who the hell was it again? Barclays. Barclays, yeah, that British bank.
And a $1 price target decrease from 161 to 160.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that the price target was really the bad thing about it. It was it was underweight. I think that they put it to underweight as well, which, yeah, that's typically not that good of a look. All right, let's see here. Edgar Samson. Yes, Tesla is at a pivot point. Yes, Tesla is at the pivot point. Good for you. Good eye there. Yeah, if you can come to the chart, if you're able to, Chilean Nightmare.
Tesla's really within these ranges.
Absolutely. So Tesla, you know, it's marginally up on the day. I shouldn't say marginally up, 0.75% or about 0.8, give or take. But this 251 area has been a very strict area of resistance. Every single touch at 251 has been rejected with a 251.25 high. We have been putting in higher lows, though, incrementally, so we could be getting some sort of ascending wedge for a flat top breakout at 251 on TSLA. It also should be mentioned that that was the kind of the 251 area was the afternoon high after that big move down on Friday, so we weren't able to take that level. And of course, the most important of all is it's at the pivot point. The pivot point is just like, I think 15 pennies or 20 pennies below that 251 area. So good confluence for resistance here at the whole dollar level. Previous price action on Friday and the pivot point all point to the same resistance level, which is that 251. But because it has a positive catalyst and it is putting these higher lows and the market is curling a little bit, be wary shorting at this level because it could get that, you know, explosion break and possibly touch R1 here at maybe, let's see, 254-ish area, but we'll see about that if it happens. 251, definitely a resistance level on TSLA. Let's see what else is going on here. Let's see some other questions. Yeah, no questions. Anything to add, Adair?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's this isn't with regards to the watch list, although I have lots of thoughts on that, but I just think it's interesting with the pivot points, because when you look at Tesla here on my chart without pivot points, you can still kind of see the range, but I think it's really interesting how it ends up fitting perfectly into the pivot points. Like, I continue to be astonished and pleased as punch by how the pivot points line up.
Yeah, they're great.
So beautifully, because I mean, you can tell we have sort of this flat top situation around 251, but it's interesting when that flat top comes into confluence with the pivot point, and then you kind of see, I guess it kind of makes it look, I guess, more significant, right? You add the significance because you know that we're getting these pivot points and these resistance and support levels from the previous day's, high, low, and close. So I think, yeah, it kind of adds to the interest for me personally, and I just think it's kind of a cool look and a cool take.
I like
and
that.
I appreciate you using them, and thank you, Edgar, for bringing that up. Also, I think as well with I think it's just important in general, just with watch list. I think looking at them and also keeping in mind, like, not getting into something just because it's moving. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I said with Moderna, it was. I'll pull up Moderna again. I got into Moderna because it was moving, right? But we also had we had chart movement I liked as well. So we had that flat top and we had this higher low. So I think Tesla just kind of reminded me of that as well, because Tesla was obviously on the watch list with regards to those delivery numbers. And also, I think this was less significant, but it also did have strong numbers in Norway. So I had that on the watch list as well. But I think the delivery numbers were quite obviously the bigger deal for Tesla. But yeah, with that in mind, I think it's not just the fact that something is moving, it's that it's moving, and you also have confluence with regards to what the chart is actually doing. Yep. Also, there was someone in the chat here who was asking me, IK was asking me about Eli Lilly. So I will look at Eli Lilly. You don't have to ask me twice. Yeah, Eli Lilly is above a milli. So for me, in play. I also think, but I think that the bigger issue is I don't know if it's in play, like, from a chart perspective, you know what I mean? Because like I just said, it's one thing for a stock to be moving, and it's another thing for the stock to be in play from a chart perspective.
Yeah.
What I do like is we have lower highs and we have lower lows. But we're sort of positive on the day. I want to wait for a little bit more, I guess, movement on Eli Lilly before I make a decision on that one. But I do not at all dislike what we're doing here on Eli Lilly. Thank you to IK in the chat for bringing up Lilly, because I think this is a really interesting look. And I like that it is above a million here as well. Also, Chaz M asking kind of an interesting question, I think, with regards to watch list to you here.
Oh, what do you say?
Yeah, Sharif, why is the dollar so important to watch? I know it's inverse to the major futures. Can you explain this a little?
I don't actually trade or really keep my eye on the Dixie all that much. What I do keep my eye on to see what's moving inverse to the future are yields, as well as I keep my eye on oil, gold, and yields. I don't understand too much about the US dollar index. I get that it is typically inverse to equities, but I really don't want to add color on something that I don't understand too much. So I'm going to have to pass on that question. I'm sorry. Maybe I'll apprise myself, and then I'll be able to answer it at a future date. But to get back into the scanner here, guys, so many different types of scanners. Look at this one. This one is a halted scanner. So you want to see what's halted on the day? This one will help you narrow that down. Give it a second here to retrieve the data. Looks like no halted items fitting my parameters at this time, so that's fine. We can kind of just let that one go here. What the hell? There we go. Going on here. Look at this. Top trade count. What has done the most trades in the day? Or look at this one. Top volume rate. Or, what hot contracts by price. Closest to limit up, down. So I like this one too. What's closest to halting at the moment? So let's see if we retrieve any data that fits that parameter. No, nothing at that moment based on what I've got. Cool. Yeah, so there's so many different types of scans that you can use. Now, in addition to that, I can choose all the indexes that I want. So US stocks, I can choose a NYSE, Amex, ARCA, and the NASDAQ, but I don't even have to trade equities if I want. There's an ETF scanner as well, a fixed income scanner, US futures, US indexes, corporate bonds, etc. So I can narrow down my scanner essentially for anything that I want. I remove here OTC markets, as you can see that. I don't, no disrespect to Jeff Mendel and the pink sheets. We love him and we love them as well. But for this particular scan, I've removed it. This one you can also add on. I've chosen to keep the ARCA on there for some ETFs. So many different types of parameters that can be entered into the scanner here. Make sure to apprise yourself with all of them. Trish, what time of your trading day do you tend to check your scanners? So typically I'll check my scanner right when I sit down in the morning when I get here around 7 or 7:30, depending on the day. I'll look to see how many small cap gappers we have in the high double digits or in the triple digits to see what kind of a day it's going to be for small cap gappers. Like we've been talking about often, you know, they typically come in waves. You'll see one maybe do like a triple digits on Monday, and then next day we'll have a couple in triple digits, and you know, and then it'll continue until they die off, and then we won't hear from them for a few days, maybe a week or two, and then it'll cycle right back. So I usually check it right away. And then I'm checking it sporadically throughout the day. That small cap gapper that was #1 on my list at 7:30 a.m. Is it still #1 at 10 a.m., at 10:30, or did it start giving back its price action, or giving back the ghost, as Neil likes to say, giving up the ghost? Yeah, so that's, I'll check it sporadically throughout the day. There's just not one time. Edgar Sanson says Tesla long at 250.60. So it looks like you're just flat on the trade out at the moment. It popped up again into 251.25, but really having trouble with that 251 level is TSLA. Be careful here with this one, because there's been so many touches on Tesla at 251, but I mean, you know, on any other day, I'd be yelling flat top break, flat top break. Look how many touches at 251, and then, you know, ascending wedge galore over here. But you know, you gotta respect the fact that we're down 1.42% on the NQ, even though Tesla's up 0.91, right? Maybe it's not the day, maybe it is. Who knows? TSLA looking awfully good, especially when you look since around 10:35. So the last give or take an hour and 10 minutes or so, it's been, you know, 90–80% more green candles, and you know, just a few red candles here, more candles of indecision if anything, but definitely trouble at 251 on TSLA.
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on that 251 for TSLA. Probably not too shocking because I like trading this name. But yeah, watching out for this flat top break. But I'm not gonna, you know, like, I think a big thing too I've learned from Sharif here is, like, just because a pattern looks like it's manifesting, don't assume it's gonna do so, right? Because you don't wanna get so caught up. It's participate, don't anticipate. That's the word.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Right? So I don't want to just assume this is a flat top break and join the party too early. You know what I mean? So I want to be patient here, but I do have this one on watch. Also, Nvidia looks like it's getting into a dip buy opportunity for me. I did scalp about 25 cents here off this Nvidia move, just because that is more kind of the move I like to do here. But yeah, I mean, I like that we're in VWAP. I think that's interesting. If I get more of a dip on Nvidia, I will potentially scalp this one to the upside. We are still down in Nvidia, but we've had quite the recovery from about this 476.05 area. So I think this is not a bad look at all. Also, I have another question.
Yeah.
And I need a moment to remember what it was. Okay, here we go.
Fine.
So I just out of curiosity too, because I remember earlier what you were mentioning with the small caps, that you also like to kind of see have they run before, right? And you can tell that by looking at 52-week highs.
Yes.
Do you find the ones, I guess with regards to that, is the reason for that because like the ones that have run before tend to run again?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That makes sense.
In fact, that's one of the things that you actually look at as a small cap trader. Is it a former runner? Does it have a history of making big intraday moves? If the answer is yes, then you want to involve yourself with it. Typically, there's a reason it's a repeat offender. There's usually a reason for that. No, it's not just because the catalyst is fantastic. It might be lower flow, which is really conducive to moving aggressively. It might be a sector that more intraday small cap traders want to particularly trade. There's umpteen amount of reasons why it could be a former runner, but the fact that it is a former runner should put you on alert, not for necessarily a bad thing, but to know, all right, this bad boy can move.
Yeah.
This bad boy has done 600% last, like say January, did 300% in May, so it's a big boy mover.
So there's a reason to watch it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Bang on.
Makes sense.
Good, great question there, Dara. All right, guys, moving up slowly here on the future, trying to knock on the door of 16.8 and VWAP area. There is some confluence. Shout out to the Canobe between those particular levels. I'm talking about 16.8, 16,800 on the NQ March contract and VWAP as well. But you know, be careful because this reeks of dead cat bounce to me, especially on a day where we're so negative on the future. Who knows what the rest of the year is going to bring? But you know, just to start off the day, it looks awfully bearish today, and I'm going to be wary of anything tech-related on a bounce. Even this Tesla 251, which I keep talking about. But the fact of the matter is, it is quite negative. People yelling about Mara in the chat. Yes, Mara was awfully strong earlier. I'm talking about that 4 a.m. to the about 9:30 a.m. So it had 5 good hours today. And then that was kind of all she wrote, rejecting 27 Adara, coming down into that 24.5 area. So several dollars to the sell side, trying to recover a little bit here. A bit of a resistance level here on the 5-minute, looking at 24 2/3. It's right there at 24 1/3, 24 1/2 right now. If it can get above this consolidation, the top end of this consolidation level, we could have an interesting recovery, possibly into 25, which is where VWAP is. Where VWAP is. So that would be interesting if we can get right back up there. But I would want to take this consolidation level top first before I really start piling into MARA. Mara has been an absolute rocket ship as of late. So, you know, taking this one short, take your shots now, because you don't know how many more opportunities Mara is going to give you short. At least it hasn't been giving too many lately anyway. All right, let's go back into this Pfizer trade. We're still like 5 pennies out of the money as it works its way back into $30 here on PFE. We're going to have a look. We already got a beak wetter up here, and then added down here at $29.90. We'll see what this one does on the day. Knock on the door of 30. Again, Pfizer has been absolutely shellacked in 2023. Does it have a better 2024? We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, so many headwinds with respect to why this was moving down in 2023, not the least of which were 2 weight loss drug trial cancellations, one in the spring and then one just about a month ago. But from what I'm hearing, their talent is just too rich, their product pipeline just too much for this one to stay down a long time. And a lot of people were talking about this, Josh Brown and some of these other characters that I listen to on a weekly basis, saying that this might be an interesting time to enter Pfizer. We'll have to wait and see how 2024 does for Pfizer, but a nice start here, 4% to the high side. No comp SRX1. There's no Ola Cat. She's not here today, but I like you trying there, man.
Oh,
there she is. There you go. So in case you were going through cat withdrawals, there you go, my man. Nimit. Looking at volume alone is not fair, as the amount done is more important. For example, BETS does 100 million volume, but it's at 12, is that 12 pennies? No, 1.2 pennies as compared to a stock, which is at $500 and does 500,000 in volume. So Nimit, what I want to tell you is there is a type of trade on this floor. It's called a buyout trade. Depends really how you feel about it, but the point of that trade is to take a lot of shares in something that's very liquid and to try to move it 1 or 2 pennies and to try to, scalpulate, as Adara likes to say, at those levels. So the presence of volume alone without a price action is not a detriment in of itself, because there is a type of trading style which doesn't actually care too much about the price variance, but more about the volume. They want to get in a lot of shares for very little moves, and that's how they kind of make their money on that. So a volume scanner could be very important to those type of traders. Maybe not important to a person like Sean, who takes dollar club winners like as of routine. That is not going to be his modus operandi, but it could be somebody else's. You see what I'm saying? So don't, just say, hey, volume is not as important as price action. It really depends on the setup that you're really going for here. So I just wanted to point that out to you, but that is a good point. I mean, for regular traders, we are looking to take, a reasonable amount of shares for as many dollar per share winners as we can get. It's going to be like these outlying traders who are more niche based that are going to be looking for like these volume movers, and to try to take a lot of shares for a little amount of money. But I definitely get your point. Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, and I think too it goes back to the fact that everyone's watch list is going to look a little bit different, right? Because it really depends on what you are trading, what you're looking for. Like, Sharif was talking a lot about the specificities with volume, specifically with small cap gappers, which is very cool. And I think also what you're looking for, because you do trade a lot of small caps, right? My watch list, for myself while trading, is going to look a little bit different, right? Because I have slightly different stocks that I'm interested in, slightly different parameters, and I'm a little bit, I do my scalpulation, right? So I think it is important to kind of remember what you're looking for is really going to come also through trial and error. And like I said, I think a huge part, specifically for my watch list process, as I continue to hopefully grow as a trader, is it's so important to, like, again, refresh your watch list, see what's happening. And I think especially that's why the aspect of a small cap watch list is really interesting too, because the small caps that are running at like 6 a.m., the small caps that are running at 9 to 11 a.m. are going to often be very different small caps.
Absolutely agree.
So I think that's a really interesting one. And I also, with that in mind, I want to bring up Polished, POL, because this one was vaulting to the upside earlier, basically right off the open. And why I brought this one up is because I think this is an example of what, Sharif, thank you for asking my question, or answering my question earlier, with regards to the fact that these small caps that run sometimes in the past can be like a good sign of what can run again in the future. And I think POL is an example, because this one is the one with a really low float. This one is like a 2 mil float, right? So of course this one has run in the past and is going to run again. Literally like a huge pull vault now. We're kind of tumbling to the downside, seeing a bit of consolidation around this 9.
Did you say pull vault?
I did say pull vault.
Yeah, it took me a second again. Now I'm still recovering from the long weekend. I'm still slow, but that was
That's
funny.
fair. But yeah, no, and I think too, I appreciate you at like that question I had with regards to, these ones that run in the past. I guess why is it important to know that? And I think it's because it can give you a sense of what kind of stock it is and how it moves.
Okay.
Pull is a really small little baby float guy. But also, like, if you look at this daily chart, you can already tell that this one runs in the past, right? Like, we had this big move up on December 20th. Yeah, I remember.
That was not that long ago.
Yeah. And then in January 2nd, and I also think it's important to kind of understand why or how something moves. Because pull, I think both of these big days of moves didn't really start moving in the pre-market. So I think that's also why it's really nice to, like, kind of refresh your watch list and see, hey, what's moving and shaking around 9:30, because that's usually when pull likes to start, vaulting to the upside here. So yeah.
All right.
That's my take on that.
A couple of housekeeping things. Really, no economic data or any auctions or anything like that later in the day. We already had 2 note auctions, the 3 and the 6 months, which are not important. Those that were already out at 11:30. 1 o'clock, though, we have the Atlanta Fed GDP, gets 2 bulls out of 3. That comes in at 1 o'clock. But tomorrow is a big day for economic numbers. Make sure to, mark your calendars. We got Fed speakers tomorrow. We got mortgage data. We got the JOLTS job openings tomorrow, which is going to be important as well. Manufacturing. We have several speakers in the Fed. We also have the FOMC minutes coming out tomorrow at 2 o'clock. So tomorrow, a big economic event day. Make sure to mark your calendars as such. But today, not so. So let's see what we're doing here. With the future, it looks like we're getting a bit of a rejection just below 16.8 on the NQ and VWAP as well. It was a nice move up on the NQ, but like I was saying, you really need to be suspicious of these balances. I was looking first and foremost for this candle to get taken out here, because this was kind of the crest. If there was any crest anyway that we could look for on the day, it was around over here, just a little bit below 16.8, around 16.79, and then I was looking for rejections possibly at 16.8 and VWAP, which both happen to be at the same level. All right, let's restart a little bit of the lesson here on the scanners. First, we're going to start with the Trade Idea Scanner. Trade Idea Scanner, obviously, viewers of Trader TV get the benefit of getting this whole thing for 25% off. That's not available to everybody else, guys, so make sure to take advantage while you can. This is the one I'm using. This screen in the middle, this is the gap scanner over here, okay? And for some reason, it is different than the one that I loaded, so I might have to send it to you. Yeah. And just restart here, because I think it didn't save my last layout. So I'll just send it to you for a second while I restart.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. While we wait for watchlist scanner time, I'm trying to get a little bit of a fill here on Eli Lilly. Thank you to Sharuz in the chat. Adara, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you. What are you looking at for next trade today? Can you show your chart? Love your setups. Thank you. Right now, I like the look of Eli Lilly. Because we are above a milli, which, as we know, is my big parameter for this one. I wanted to get in at this 586.50, which coincidentally happens to be right around VWAP, which again, not always going to be an interesting level, but I think sometimes when things line up, you know, when the stars align, it can help strengthen the trade. I like the look of this because I wanted to kind of wait and see, like, you know, some confirmation above that level, because we kind of had a bit of a top at that level and then fell to the downside. Looks like we can eclipse that. We're up on the day. I like the look of a Lily long. I'd probably take this to about this 588.19 or maybe 588. That would give me about $1.50 in the money. Very small share size because Eli Lilly can be kind of a wild creature, so we don't want to give her too much to run away with, you know what I mean? So I do like the look of Eli Lilly here. Also, some mention of LBPH, which is that longboard pharmaceutical, in the chat. So I'm going to pull this one up because, you know, why not? This one I was mentioned, I believe, in the small cap recap as well. Ooh, this one doing a nice little cup kind of movement here, buying the roundy face, right? So I think, or the smiley face. But I think what we do around 1950 could be interesting, because that was that area that we did have sort of a local top earlier. Generally, though, not a bad look for this guy, because we have higher lows. We have what appear to be at least, you know, an attempt at higher highs. And this whole kind of rounded bottom consolidation, or I guess recovery, not a bad look at all. This is another example of one that kind of popped off a little bit in the pre-market. So yeah, just a good example of kind of keeping your eyes open, keeping your eyes apprised of what is moving and your eyes on the prize, and just adding things to the watch list. Yeah. This one I think Neil brought to our attention in our chat, just kind of like, hey, this one's moving right before open. So it's just kind of good to, you know, keep an eye out. And this is why, you know, Benzinga stuff, like, really helpful for that, because the second you get news, some of these platforms just kind of drop it in there as well, right? So I think it's just a big part of watch list as well, to kind of bring this full circle in a sort of roundabout way, is kind of getting a sense of where to look and just always being open for new information. Like, I don't like to, you know, have it too set in stone. Even when I'm making the watch list in the morning that we send out for Trader TV, you know, sometimes I think can be a bit promising earlier on, and then it kind of doesn't come to fruition, right? So I think it's just being really open to seeing what is moving in you. Just because there's a story, is there movement or volume to support that story? I think that's kind of important as well. So yeah, keep an eye on that. Also, James Dell in the chat, longboard, is that a Tony Hawk investment? Kick out of that. That's funny. Yeah, pharmaceutical company up about 200% right now. I will be interested in this if we get to that 1950 area. Also, let's look at Lily, because what's she up to? Okay, I'm still within the realm of getting this fill on Eli Lilly, a Philly for Eli Lilly. But yeah, so how is it going?
It's good. Oh, yeah, sorry, I just had to reset this. Okay,
yeah, no worries.
So let's look at the biggest gap scanner as well, because I just want to talk about the columns that I've personally selected to be on the scanner, and I'll talk about my scan parameters after. So this one is with Trade Ideas, the software. So what I'm trying to focus on is this middle screen over here. That's a green screen. The screens on the left are my watch list. We'll be talking about those on a different day. It's this middle component here that I want to focus on. So first and foremost, obviously the three columns that you're going to want on there, irrespective of any whatever type of scanner you have, is the symbol, the current price, and then the change percentage on the day, right? You want to see if it's moving up, if it's moving down, or what it's doing, all right? Second thing, though, or sorry, not second, third thing, not third, fourth information point what I want to have is the change percentage since open. So what has it been doing since 9:30? A lot of these gap scanners, either what they'll do is they'll start calculating the change percentage either from 4 a.m. today or from 4 p.m. the previous day. So it's either the previous close or the 4 a.m. open at the beginning of pre-market trading. But I want to see sometimes what it's been doing subsequent to all that and what it's been doing since the bell. So this column over here will help you determine that. It's called change percentage since open, all right? And then the volume. How many shares has it traded on the day? Very important for me to know how many shares is traded, and then to compare that to the next column next to it, which is the average volume. This average volume can be adjusted to whatever you want it to be. It can be a 5-day average, it can be a 2-week average, 10 days, whatever. For our purposes, I've kept it to 5 days. So when you compare poll over here, it's done 14.39 million shares of volume. Compare that though to the 5 million shares it's done on average the last 5 days. So you can tell it's much higher in terms of average volume than it has been over the past 5 days. And this column here in the middle showing these green and red bar charts over here. Essentially what this is it's the price of the stock relative to its high and low on the day. So the more green and the more extreme to the right, that means that it's at its highest point all day. As you can see, this one poll is now moving into the red area a little bit. So that means it is moving down off its middle point on the day. But compare that to SURGW, GW. This one is at its highest point it's been all day, and you can see that reflected here on the chart. The relative volume is also really important. Relative volume is not the same thing as average volume, because this average volume area we have over a period of 5 days. With relative volume, this is taking the period of 1 year, and it's saying, okay, it's done I'm talking about poll over here. It's done 14.4 million shares on the day. That is 17 2/3 of our relative volume, meaning that over the past year, yeah, I know it's a mouthful. Over the past year, this one is doing 17.6 times the amount of relative volume that is done over the past year. And a lot of what these small cap traders are looking for is a lot of ARVL. They want to see that there are a lot of eyes on this particular stock, and it's doing much higher relative volume than it is on an average day. And then this one over here, this column over here, the volume 5-minute percentage, this one is really important to me. This one's showing me what it's doing in terms of volume over the last 5 minutes. And that's important to see, is the volume coming in anew, or is it all older volume from either the open or some other period in the day when more eyes were on the stock? No. So if you're looking at getting the kind of the jump on some of these small cap gappers, you're going to want to really look at what it's done over the last 5 minutes. And if that number is dropping off, like for example, POL, it's one of the number ones in terms of volume with 14.34, just second only to NGM with 17.862. But when you look at the 5-minute average here with respect to volume, NGM is doing far higher percentage of 5-minute volume than POL is. So you can tell that more eyes at the moment are on NGM than they are on poll. So that's another important column to have, because you want to know what is doing volume most recently and where are the majority of eyes looking now as opposed to half an hour or an hour previously. And then the gap column as well, really important to me, showing me this one for a couple of reasons. One, a lot of small cap traders will look for the larger gaps to try to take those north, or some mean reversion traders will be looking for the gap to get filled to the downside. So a lot of short bias traders will look for the largest gap percentage open and then look to fade it, at least to close the gap somewhat. So lots of different columns over here help you kind of narrow your focus with respect to some of these small caps.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really interesting point too, and I think what's also, I think really helpful too, even while the market's moving, something that Trade Ideas has as well is you can kind of see what's popping off on volume. And so then if you see that, then what I kind of do, this is what when I'm at the big desk, if like I'm bringing stocks to people, I'm like, oh, this thing is moving. It's usually because what I'm seeing is something's popping on Trade Ideas, or you're seeing a news piece, then you're kind of looking back and seeing what's the volume doing? Is it kind of making sense, right? And then you can, as I mentioned earlier, then that's kind of, if you see that we have something moving, and this is, I think, the importance of having a scanner that shows when stuff is moving and maybe in what direction, or if there's a big volume spike, then that's when you can kind of check the chart and be like, oh, hey, this is, maybe a decent point of entry, or here's the news catalyst confirming this, right? This is why this is moving. So then you can kind of get confirmation and find confluence if it exists. So I think that it's kind of like an easy jumping off point once we have the scanners, I guess. And I think that's what they're kind of used for my purposes, especially, trying to bring like news stories, seeing what catalysts are, that type of thing. Also, I'm in this NVIDIA long, which I'm just going to talk about for a second here as well. I got NVIDIA, I like range plays, I like range scalps. We had kind of this really solid, kind of on and off range here from that 181.50, 181.75 to that 182.30 area for a little bit. We'll see if this continues to hold up. If it does, I'm set to leave here at 482.25, so that'd be 50-cent scalp. Again, I am in the sim, took a really small share size because I wasn't, I didn't want like too much risk here. But yeah, and then if we break like a lower low, if we break decisively out of this range, particularly that 481.30 area that we had some consolidation earlier, then I'm out of this trade. NVIDIA has been kind of having these wicks above 482 since I've been in it, so hopefully we can continue to stay to the upside there. Adam DeLu saying, oh wow, great first trade in NVIDIA, thank you so much. Yeah, I did have this little baby scalp earlier in NVIDIA, and again, this was, as Sharif mentioned, I'm calling it scalpulating. What I did with this first NVIDIA trade was I was noticing we had a little bit of a support, this 479.75. I entered basically exactly $2 lower than where I entered here. Kind of saw and was looking for the same stuff. Then I initially wanted to get out a little bit higher than 480 on that first trade, but then I noticed we did have 480 seemed a bit of a resistance point, so that's why I got out at 480. So it's just kind of, when I say scalpulating, it's just kind of a fancy word for scalps that are planned but are a little bit adaptable depending on what kind of movement I'm seeing. There we go. Also, congrats to Sean on his Mara, which is being mentioned here in the chat. Go Mara short. Bang button. Yeah, if anyone has any other specific, stocks or maybe like things that they look for in their watch list, because, we're talking about watch lists, I think it's kind of important to see what other people are looking for, what questions people have. We love, answering questions, and we love talking about the watch list and scanners here, because it is a really important part of trading that I think is often, once you start trading, it's like, you kind of forget where you came from, but where we come from every day when you're forming the trades that we make here is we all have a different form of the watch list. Sean has a sticky note, and I know Neil has his morning mix, and Sharif's got all the small cap scanners. I'm doing the watch list in the morning, so I think we all come from it, maybe different perspectives, and I'm sure everybody in the chat has different ways of coming at it as well, but we all kind of end up at the same place, and that's like finding strategies that work for you to find stocks to trade. Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Going on with some of the other scanners that we have, let's have a look here at some of the other options. So I talked to you about my parameters. I like to look for everything larger than 85 pennies. And the reason for that is I kind of want to know when they're coming into that $1 area, because the $1 break on some of these small caps can often be quite fruitful. So I want to kind of get the jump on the ones that are inching closer to $1. So by virtue of that, I limit everything to exclude. I limit my scanner to exclude everything, below 85 pennies. Similarly, with respect to volume, I limit my scanner to exclude everything trading below 250,000 shares. Now, one of the things you can do is you can have two scanners, one for pre-market, one for after the bell. For pre-market, you might want to set that to a little bit of a lower bar, 100,000. Neil, do you do anything like that for small caps? Do you limit volume? You don't, you just want to see the whole thing. Okay, so Neil, he doesn't do that. Personally, for my pre-market scanner, I put it to 100,000. For anything after the bell, I keep it at a quarter milli. I want to see everything that's doing a quarter milli and up. And then we hit the search, and then let's see it populate over here, as I'll be showing you some other scanners as well. Yeah, so you can see LBPH still the big kahuna right now in terms of percentage done on the day. But then once the bell rings, you don't really care what's done the highest percentage since 4 a.m. or 4 p.m. the previous day, depending on the scanner. You want to know what's up the most since the open. At least I do. So then you hit this bad boy over here, and all of a sudden you know that POL is the biggest kahuna on the block with respect to change percentage since open, well over 50%, followed by CDIO. CDIO has been a beast as well for some of the small cap traders as well, trading around $3.50. That it's done 37% since the bell. And you can compare CDIO's percentage change since open to percentage change. And they're awfully similar, meaning that between 4 a.m. and 9:30, PM CDIO was up 2%, and the 36% came after 9:30. So you can kind of know where the catalyst came in for this one. So those are, this is kind of, what was it called? The top percentage scanner. For the same, by the same token, you can do top percentage losers. And so for my short-minded traders who want to kind of take the small cap gappers down after the day after they've had a very strong day, here's how you do that. You search by top percentage losers, and then you have SGN showing as number one over here since the open. If you were to filter it just in general, since 4 a.m. it's AVXL, but that doesn't really matter for our person. We want to know what's down the most since the open. VTNR, that's down 21.09% since the open. So there's something for everybody. Long bias traders, short bias traders, what have you. There's also a halted scanner. So if you want to know what's halted at any one time, so say it's a great day for small caps and there's just 5 or 6 of them going, you want to know which ones are halted at any one time, you can have the halt scanner there set up as well. Most active, there's a most active scanner. The most active scanner looks at what's done the most amount of volume on the day, and that's often important for traders who want to kind of get in with a lot of shares and take a low amount of pennies or dollars to the high side or the downside, whatever it is. So they're looking at more of a volume trade than a price action trade. So look at this one over here. Let's go change percentage. No, let's go by volume. The one that's done the most volume on the day, we mentioned this earlier, is the SQQQ and the SOXS, which is the triple levered bear semis ETF. And that's because semis are down markedly. You have AMD down 5.25, NVIDIA down 3, and then the SQQQ because the NQ is down 1.57%. So those have done 77 million shares and 72.5 million shares, respectively. Third in that regard is Mara, done 67.5 million shares. And when you compare that over here to its average volume over the last year, it's 52 million shares. So we're well above the average volume, and we're only at 1220, right? We haven't even come close yet to Power Hour, and it's already well above that amount. So, and then you can see Tesla is number 4th on that list, having done 63.5 million shares. But Tesla is doing way lower than its average on a yearly basis, which is 120 million shares. So you can tell that Tesla is still doing below average volume right now, even though it is number 4 on our list for total volume done. So many different scanners here. I can keep going down the list. Let me go down some of this list because it's important that you see how many there are. You can sort by what's making 52-week highs. You can sort by what's making 52-week lows. This is really good for swing trading. 13-week highs, 13-week lows, 26-week highs, 26-week lows. There's even an imbalance one as well. You see the Katina man talking about the imbalances every morning at around 9:20, 9:25, etc. Yeah, so many different scanners here helping you basically narrow what you want to do, and there's definitely something here for everybody, Adair.
Yeah, no, I think that's, like I said, I think that's what's cool is that you have so many tools available to you that I think one of the the really interesting parts of forming a looking through scanners and using the scanners and all of these resources to form a watch list is that as you kind of I guess find your footing as a trader and the type of trades you do, then you're already going to kind of sort and see what you want, and then B, once you kind of have that, I guess, in your tool belt, I guess, or your tool belt, as you will. Then you kind of have, again, like a better sense. I guess what I'm trying to say is the more that you kind of cultivate and get a sense of what scanners are helpful to you, what helps you build your watch list, then you can kind of get more of a sense of that. And I think, like what we just heard with Sharif and Neil talking about different, I guess, ways of cultivating small caps, right? Like everyone's going to have, you can trade the same thing and end up at it differently just because you use different parameters for your scanners, right? So I think it's just kind of worth noting that you are going to have different, I guess, aspects that you're looking for and different things that you're going to find interesting while you're trading in different type of stocks you trade as well. So I think, like, much like no two snowflakes look alike, apparently, no two scanners or watch lists will maybe look exactly the same. And I think that's you know, a testament to different people trade different ways, you know, swing versus day trading, different types of stocks. So I think that's definitely, I guess, something that I would say is of note. And I think, yeah, like I think it is important to, regardless of whether you long or short, it's nice to know what kind of what are the top, I guess, winners and losers for pre-market are as well, because it helps you know like what's moving to the downside and give you a sense of, you know, maybe what small caps are going to pop or what small caps might be, you know, on tomorrow's biggest loser list, right? So I think it's kind of good to know and get a sense. And I think the longer that you spend looking at scanners, the more you kind of, I guess, gain knowledge of how some of these things move, which I think is really important.
If you're a short bias trader and you see 3 100% movers up today, you may not want to take them because you're short biased.
Yeah.
But you know that if you're planning for tomorrow, you know that you may have 3 hot bad boys that may be, you know, giving back 75, 80% move on the next day. So I'll have those ready for my short trade tomorrow. So knowing what's moving today equally is important if you're a short bias trader for small caps for your playing tomorrow. So very good point on that, Adair. I like how you mentioned that. All right, guys, let's have a look at TSLA here, because we've been talking about Tesla all morning and this very interesting 251 level on TSLA. That is the dotted green line. The dotted green line is my pivot point. And everything support and resistance wise is based off this dotted green line if you are using pivot points. But look how well this is actually meshing with the price action. This is as good as we could do Friday afternoon when we got up at around 1:30 into that 251 level. We then gave up the ghost, kind of creating a bit of a skewed double top there, and ended up closing sub 250 at that round 248.5 level. Come 251 again today, and we are finding another resistance point there. It just happens to be at the pivot point today. 1 rejection, 2 rejection, 3, 4, and 5, and then 6, 7, and 8. 8 rejections on the 5-minute chart at that 251-ish level. And here we go, down we go on Tesla. 248.5 just broke, which is below VWAP. So a beautiful rejection there on TSLA. But I have to point out the high or low situation that we still find ourselves in. So even though we've had the umpteenth amount of rejection here at that 251 Tesla, look at this. A beautiful, beautiful bounce off S1. You had the S1 bounce at 6:30, and then you had it again at 8. And then you had it again at 8:40, and then you got it again at the bell. So pivot points, I'm really, I'm early in my use of pivot points, but every time I see something like this, it really encourages me to continue with this, this like a test, I guess I'm doing to see how well they work in IRL. But the whole point is we have this higher low situation going here on Tesla where we bounced off that 245 level, the opening range, and then at around 10:30 we dipped down into 246, and here we are with the low currently at that 248.25. So higher lows throughout. If we give up the ghost at this 247-ish area and we create a newer low, this whole, ascending wedge possibility, just gets put on the back burner for now, because then that kind of changes the whole thing. But so long as we can hold above this 247 area, we have higher lows on Tesla with a flat top, which could manifest into something nice. Now, it might not be today, it might be tomorrow, but the whole point is to keep an eye on this particular pattern. TSLA, very interesting for me on the day. Tesla now negative by 1/5 of a percentage, going negative now after being up over 1%. In case you're just joining us, Tesla delivering 1.82.
Yes, yeah.
1.82 was that? Let me just get
the year, I believe.
Let me give the exact details so that I'm not incorrect.
It's definitely in the 1.8 realm.
Right? There was 1.85 and 1.82. I forget what. Here we go. Expectations ends with 1.81 million. Yeah, 1.81 million. And then they made 1.85 million on the year. Ooh. So awfully close to that 2 million produced that Elon wanted to kind of go with here. For the quarter, it's up markedly. They produced 494,000 vehicles. They delivered 483,000 vehicles. The 95% of that number is Model 3 and Model Y. 5% are Model S and Model X, which are obviously the more expensive of the four, well, I should say five now because they have the Cybertruck, the five models that they have. So yeah, great look for setup. ALB, nice setup, says M. Allen. Let's have a look at ALB. I don't even know what that is.
Albemarle?
Is ACI.
Oh, it's Albemarle.
Albertsons
It is Albemarle.
ACI, yeah. ALB. Albemarle. Okay, yeah. All right, let's see what this is all about, Katina Man. What do we got over here? Ooh, good look over here. Let's see what we got with the catalyst. ALB. First and foremost, let's put in the ticker so people can follow along. All right, so ALB, do I see a ticker? Here we go. Booker suggests investing in Albemarle. How do you say this name?
I think it's Albemarle.
Albemarle, okay.
But I could be wrong.
No, I think you're right. I don't have a news headline for this. Do you have anything on this? I'm not seeing anything.
Yeah,
it's a fantastic look so far, though.
Yeah, it's a really good look, though.
Yeah, good look on the day. It's positive on the day, 3.4%. I don't have a news headline to account for this nice move up. It's obviously knocking on the door of 150, 149.51 HOD. Possible double top here because that's kind of where we got into last time. But we did break that that high that we made at 1020 with a new high at 1220. But we are not past that point yet. Let me ALB put it in here so that I can get all the deets for that. Yeah, possible double top here on the name. Maybe if you really are patient, wait for a dip into VWAP. But yeah, you know, without a catalyst explaining why this is moving, I'm really hesitant to get in on this name. But it's a good look, up over 3%. Now, guys, don't forget that we're beginning of the year here. So a lot of positioning, bigger money positioning could start taking place today, right? So if you see some random stock that doesn't have a catalyst on the day running, that could be because, you know, bigger money positions are starting to get into this. So, you know, we're just gonna have to be patient, I guess, with some of these non-catalyst runners on the day. Yeah, Neil put the pronunciation Albemarle. Thanks for that, Neil. Appreciate that. M. Allen, thank you. Yeah, no, thank you, my friend. The Katina Man still almost $1 in the money on that MARA short. So if in case you're wondering, Katina Man, what's your plan there? Any possibly? Any planned?
Yes.
What are those levels?
24.60.
He's looking at wetting his beak at 24.60. He's already gotten some out, but for those following along on his trade, he is gunning for that 24.60 area to take some out. Hampton's Traders, Sharif, I loaded AMD short at VWAP, 2/3 covered already. Shout out to you, my friend. AMD awfully weak on the name, but so are all the semis, except SMCI. So every single semi on my watch list, which is plenty, is red, for the exception of Super Microcomputer, up 0.18%, bucking the trend, but also barely on this very red day.
Yeah, that's a super micro move to the upside, I have to say, 0.18%. But it presented itself.
Lovely.
But yeah, you know what else is presenting itself? I kind of like the idea of Baba short. I have a couple names. Baba was on the watch list going back to, you know, Scanner's watch list. Baba getting the boot from the Goldman Sachs commission buy. I guess it's on the no-fly list or the no-buy list. No, I'm joking. But yeah, getting kicked off the Goldman Sachs list here, or the conviction buy list.
You're looking at Boeing.
Yes, Boeing.
Oh. Why were you telling me that Boeing, not Baba?
Oh, I said Baba.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
No
Thank
problem.
you. I was talking about Boeing.
Thanks,
Baba was also on the watch list, though, so maybe that's why I was confused. And the BA. But yeah,
Gotcha.
sorry. I thank you for thank you for helping me clarify there.
Boeing. Nightmare in my ear there. Let me know.
Thank you, Fabian. Yeah. So Boeing, the plane. But yeah, so I think this is an interesting look. On this one, the Goldman taking it off of its conviction list. But not impacting the rating, apparently. It's not a reflection on the stock rating. It's just a reflection on the return POV. But yeah, I like that we have lower lows on this still. Potentially short, keeping my eye out. Moderna also, I tried to get in on this latest move to the upside, but I think I set my fill of Scotia too high.
Scotia.
Scotia alert. Yeah, it looks like we're moving back to this 115. Bowie, I keep saying the wrong name. Gosh. Moderna continuing to have, though, these little moments of reprieve where you can get in for longs.
Moderna is flying.
Yeah, it's giving them the market an injection here today, along with Pfizer. You know, this. I need to stop. But yeah, Moderna up 15% on the day. Really sad I missed out on that opportunity around that 113.50 area. But c'est la vie, cannot lose any sleep over it. Also, though, some people mentioning Disney in the chat. So I shall oblige. I pulled up Disney earlier when I first saw it. Oh, this is not the right Disney. Disney NY. Yeah, because Steamboat Willie and some other characters. I don't know if this is why it's moving, but Steamboat Willie now public domain because the 95 years have passed. Ooh. Yeah. Oh, it says 95 here.
Oh, Disney's going. Look at that. Look.
Yeah,
Look.
now, oh my gosh.
Holy
I was
cow.
just going to be like, oh, it dip buy. And then it was like, yeah, no, dip buy. Oh,
Katina, man, you in that? He talked about Disney earlier.
Just showing that it was like, why was it strong?
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I don't really understand either.
Yeah,
Katina man saying he was showing like why is it strong? So the Chilean Nightmare letting us know now is that 100th. Yeah, okay.
I know, that's interesting. Yeah, because it's saying here 95. Yeah, that's why I was confused. Because I also thought
Say the 100th.
I thought
you
it
can
was
go
100,
on.
but yeah.
Did you say 100-year anniversary? What'd you say? Oh.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah, no, I was confused too because they're saying that apparently like these copyrights were from 1928, so now they've expired. But yeah, I'm on.
I heard
I'm
about
unsure.
that too. Mickey Mouse, right?
Yeah, Steamboat Willie, so OG Mickey Mouse. And then also
is that what his name was?
Yeah, Steamboat Willie.
That's the predecessor for Mickey Mouse?
Yeah, the guy at the steamboat.
Mickey Senior.
There we go,
Okay,
the black and white Mickey at the steamboat. But yeah, Tigger and Minnie apparently also public domain.
I see.
But yeah, this Disney move to the upside. Super sad I missed the dip buy, but you know, hopefully there's an opportunity to come back to here. Let me look at the daily here. Yeah, shout out to the Crazy Stitch lady in the chat here. Excited about this move. Yeah, Disney daily chart, we're falling off a little bit, but yeah, definitely not a bad look at all. We had a nice recovery from that double bottom. First October 5th, the second was October 30th. So that was when all the stocks got that nice move to the upside around that 78 area. Now we're about 91. Not a bad look for Disney. I think this was a bit of a support area earlier, this 91. So if we can support becomes resistance, this could be an interesting area. But Disney, very strong intraday on a day where very few names are very strong on the intraday here.
Great comment there from Edgar Sanson. My Tesla stop limit was triggered at 248.45, short entry at 249.91 for $1.46 on the money. Shout out to you, my man. Look, if you took anything off that 251 area today, you are in the money because every single pop into 251 has been rejected. The farthest it's gone from that 251 whole dollar level is 25 pennies. And that should, fall within your risk parameter there. That should have been definitely within your stop loss range, as something like Tesla can, run several dollars in a minute. So 25 pennies would be a very, very small, I would say, window for a stop loss on Tesla. Obviously, a lot of that has to do with how many shares you're taking. If you're taking a ridiculous amount of shares, your stop loss is likely to be a little bit tighter. But if you were, working within the regular ranges here, 25 pennies should have definitely fit in with that, and you shouldn't have been stopped out. So on any of these touches, you should have been printing. But what's really standing out to me here is the fact that we are just at above break even on Tesla. We have put in that higher low as it's starting to curl out again to the high side, as my friend Neil likes to say, getting this on the back end. By that I typically understand him to mean when something starts curling down, finds a bottom and then starts curling back up, moving back up, you get it on the back end after it proves to you that, okay, I've held this support level and now I'm starting to trend right back up. But we are at VWAP. We are at this break-even level at 248.5. So we'll have to wait, see how this pans out. But what's standing out to me is the flat top at 251 and the higher lows, a bit of an ascending wedge. You know, this is not actually a bad entry here for TSLA long if you are to assume that there's going to be another 251 touch. Because if you get in here, then you're risking about 75 pennies. If you put your stop just below 248, we're at 248 3/4, you risk 75 pennies to possibly make $3 from where we are, or $2 if you were to take that 249 to 251 at least. And then maybe if we break it, you hold a piece for the dream. So not a bad look here on TSLA. It's really been the only upwardly bound Mag 7 name, and that's due in large part to the deliveries numbers that we got earlier today. Tesla, though, kind of curling up a little bit here, could be an interesting entry for some longs. Very few longs today. All right, Pfizer, we got a second beak wetter through the move back above 30, but we're still looking for that HOD area where we got the initial beak wetter at 30 1/3. That is kind of the HOD on the day. I'm talking about Pfizer. No real reason this bad boy is moving up. Possibly some sympathy with mRNA, and some of the other healthcare biotech stocks are all moving up today for whatever reason. You know, this stock has just absolutely been pummeled in 2023, and you know, it's at a discount. Let's be real. Okay, right now. Now, a lot of people say, well, it's at a discount for a reason, because its product pipeline is drying up. It had two, you know, I think one was phase 2 and one was phase 1 trials shut down for their weight loss drug. So everything that's happened to this company, price action wise, is deserved. And then, you know, there are the others that say, no, there's just way too much scientific talent within this company for them not to be able to produce anything. Their product pipeline, which is, you know, not bad. You know, it has a lot of depth, and therefore they're going to come up with something, if not this year, then next year, and you need to get the jump. It's on sale. You know, whatever your inclination is here, your philosophical bend on Pfizer, fact of the matter is up 4.5% today, but, you know, pills in comparison to what Moderna was up. What was Moderna up?
Moderna is up 15.9%.
There you go. So yeah, that pales in comparison very much to what Moderna has been doing on the day. Obviously, Moderna, much more volatile stock than Pfizer. Last time I looked at Pfizer, I think there was like 1 billion shares in circulation. Let me double check that.
That's wild.
Yeah, hold on. So there is 5.6 billion shares float. Pfizer has a 5.643 billion share float, and the amount authorized is 12 billion. So they could literally issue double what is already in circulation. So Pfizer, hard to move. The fact that there's way more shares out there in circulation means that has to be a lot more buying to move up this bad boy. But anyway, 4 2/3, nothing to sneeze at here. Here we go again, moving up into that 30-15 area, possibly another beak wetter coming up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still looking for an opportunity to even get into this Moderna. I'm just waiting for it to pull back a little bit, because if you look at Moderna here, every time we've had a bit of every time we've had a bit of a pullback, we've gone right back up, right? We have a little bit of a consolidation, and then we kind of have a push to the upside. So again, I'm not saying that, you know, history is going to repeat itself. I'm going to keep my eyes open and my mind open. But I think, I definitely think there's a possibility to get some more movement out of this. And that might be crazy to say about a stock that's over 100, that's moved 16% on the day. But I mean, Moderna seems to, we have a really strong catalyst on this one too. We did have an upgrade from Oppenheimer, but also the initial precipitating factor here was, I guess, saying the Moderna CEO saying in a shareholder letter that they're with like the launch of the RSV vaccine candidate in 2024, and then another flu COVID combo vaccine as early as 2025. They think they're going to see sales growth in 2025. So that is what is happening here with Moderna. That's the story on that. So I think that's a really strong catalyst. I think clearly, I noticed this is another example of scanners being helpful, because I noticed this one. I saw it popping off on the scanner this morning at the big desk, and I was like, what is happening? And then I ran to find out, and that leads me to a shout out to our sponsor here, Benzinga. So yeah, like you know, Sharif's always saying, we all use Benzinga here a lot. I use Benzinga all the time. Super helpful with cultivating the watch list, finding news stories here. And the great thing too with Benzinga Pro, you can sign up today for 50% off their premier, oh, I like this format here, premier news and research platform for retail traders with the code TTV, capital letters, that is TTV, capital letters. Use the link in the description to go to the checkout. And look here, you can type in different stocks. Like here I can see, oh yeah, Oppenheimer getting an upgrade. They have like little symbols, like if something is like, you know, maybe more likely to be good news or bad news, there's little green arrows for good news. Then I look at Apple here, with the, if you see the downgrade, for Barclays, you see like the little 2 arrows to the downside, right? So I think a really great feature to have. Oh, Tesla getting reiterating and outperformed by Oppenheimer, right? Just lots of analyst moves, little interesting things going on. They give some notes on options. Very helpful platform. That is, you know, my shout out to our lovely sponsor, Benzinga.
Did you figure out the scanner thing on that one? Or?
I still, yeah, because I'm like, because I haven't access to the big desk. I need to figure this out.
You just need to log in from that one. That's it.
Really. You're right. That's what it is. Because also, though, I know, I think you showed me on this computer once too. So I think it must be
that's weird.
Somewhat possible. But yeah, I will figure it out. Because this is scanner week. So this is the week of New Year's resolution to get this thing sorted.
There you go.
Be my goal there.
All right, nice move up here on the future. Popping back up. We were just at 16,750 now. We're in the high 80s. Looking to take that 16.8 again. VWAP and 16.8 both at that exact level. So good confluence there. I would say that sets up for a hell of a resistance level if we're able to break it though. So this is the level I'm talking about right here. VWAP at 16,797, and then obviously 3 points above that is 16.8, the 100-point level, which is important for me on my charting. Then you obviously have a bit of a gap between 16.8 and the lower end of this price consolidation here that we put in around 8 a.m. to around 8:30 a.m. So I'm going to say there's a bit of a 20-point gap between that 100-point level and this low end of the consolidation, 15 to 20-point gap around there. So even if we break 16.8, I'm going to be really watching to see if we can close above this consolidation area over here, the lower end of this consolidation area. So not really out of the woods. And I wouldn't say you're out of the woods at all here on such a negative day on the future. Every level you're likely to encounter at least some resistance. We'll have to wait and see what we get, but nice, decent move up here. The other one that I'm keeping my eye on is TSLA, because this is the one that we said started curling up on the back end a little bit with an obvious 251 flat top. So, you know, if we're going to get in, you know, for that 251 touch, wouldn't be a bad idea to get in now, obviously with a stop below the break of 248. So keep your eye on TSLA now as it's above 249 and making the charge back into that flat top area again. Talked about Edgerson saying looking for the NASDAQ, look like they will close the gap. Let's see. Yeah, let's not guess. Let's see what it does. Obviously, we know what our levels are, and we're going to keep an eye on those levels. But whether they manifest or not, a whole different story. Yeah, I see you, Vin. Vin saying TSLA, and then with the fish looking look, I guess. I don't even know what that's called.
Yeah, it's a cool emoji.
Yeah, Gabrielle saying NQ above the opening range now. Talking about the implied, the opening range break, where we kind of look at what the highs and the lows are at the 9:30 open and kind of chart off those a little bit, the implied balance open. So let's see what we get. I'm looking at that 100-point level. That's really kind of my look there. Let's have a look back at Pfizer. Still looking for that 315. I've got a beak wetter set up at 315. It's at 310 now. Let's see what we get on PFE. Stop console wars. Funny message to you there.
Oh. Oh yeah, that's kind of funny. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's nice.
I'll take it. Yeah.
I know, it's funny.
The pants are also red. I guess I'm going all out with the red this year. New year.
Why not? And it was a red day too, so it's perfect time to wear red.
Right.
Yeah.
I weirdly own a lot of green as well, but I feel like I have my green blazer set. I feel like, you know, it doesn't always coordinate with when the market's green, but like, who knows, right? Why not wear colors? But yeah, also I just got filled in this little Tesla trade here at that 488.99. My plan to get out in this is not the 251 area because we know I like to scalp, but if we get 250, I will be taking that because I like those dollar levels. And I don't want to overstay my welcome in, especially in a stock as
I'm going there
volatile
with you too.
as BOVESPA. Oh yay! Oh my
Yeah.
God, we got it like the same
Yeah,
level.
I like
Okay.
that trade. I like it. I like it for a possible move up into 250 as well.
That's what I
Yeah,
have
if not 250,
250.
251, we'll see what Tesla gives us. But it's like, you know, I don't want to put words in Neil's mouth, but, you know, typically when he explains to me getting things on the back end, it's after a big move down, then it proves to you that it's curling up a little bit here. I'm going to get out. I don't know about you, but personally, I'm going to give this $1. If it breaks that 248 area, I'm out there. You know, you get in 2 to 1 here if we're able to touch that obvious resistance level, which is 251. That's as clear as it can be to me. So that presents a 2 to 1 risk to reward ratio. Whether or not that ends up panning out, whole different story. But I'm going to send it off to you because I'm going to put in my stop.
Yeah. Yeah, I think same. I was thinking that 248 because that's a lower low. Yeah, in terms of profit taking, part of why I like 250 is look at where we had some of that move earlier. We had a little bit of movement around 250. We had some action around 250. It's about $1 in from where I got in. I would piece out probably at least some of this at 250. Plus, like I said, I am a bit of a scalpier person, so the longer I'm in a stock, the more I get hives. So there we go. And then 248 would be the out here. So that would be the, this is kind of what I'm going for here. Yeah, I think that's the goal. Thank you to Bears versus Bulls for the encouragement for Sharif and I in this Cybertruck here to hopefully the upside. But yeah, what I like too is even why I got in on this. I know every time I say Cybertruck, you get like very excited, which is fair. I feel like I'm accidentally like gaslighting you into thinking I'm getting.
Can I tell you now
yes.
that the Hummer EV is coming out in more numbers now? And so people were selling, like when the Hummer EV first came out, everybody's selling it like $100,000. So over the price. So they're about 150 Canadian, and people were selling for like 250, 275. Now there's like a lot of Hummers now finding their way on the market. And besides, you couldn't find it at like the GM dealership. You had to find it at some like other third-party retailer who was trying to make a crazy profit on it. Now you're getting it actually at MSRP. So if you're looking for Hummer EVs like directly from the manufacturer, there's a lot of them making their way into Canada now.
Huh.
Right? Yeah. I was looking, I'm like, okay, let's see what this Hummer EV can do. And I did a little bit of YouTubing. It is not bad at all. There's a lot of stuff that yeah. And let me tell you about this. So the pickup version of this, well, I think both the SUV and the pickup version, it's kind of like a convertible and an SUV. Reason being, the roof are it's all glass, all hard partition glass, and you can remove all those squares. It's like square roof. You can remove them to make it into kind of like a Jeep Wrangler topless.
Oh,
yeah, it's really, really cool. And it's got like the built-in speakers on the top. It can crab walk. It can do all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, it's what I really like it. I really like it, to be honest with you. But it's kind of pricey.
I like a boxy car, so there we go. Also, RIP Tesla. It looks like it is heading towards that 248, but we haven't broken below 248 yet. So if we don't have a decisive break, then here we go. But yeah, I am getting a little bit nervous that we did fail to make that higher, that equal high, especially because even when we fell down here, we still were maintaining that higher low. So the fact that we haven't met that high again, getting quick into my boots just a little bit here.
Yeah,
just a skosh. We're gonna have to wait and see and be patient. Yeah, I think I'm probably
if I get stopped out on this Tesla trade, I'm going to be looking short, because then that's going to be a complete break in the trend where you had that higher low put in. Now this will be a lower low. And so I think that if Tesla breaks at 248, that's going to be an interesting kind of indicator there that we may be moving down here, especially on this market too. We just rejected again that top end of the range on the NQ, and Tesla's following suit by tanking down. So look at this. This is the top end of the range we've been dealing with essentially since 10 a.m. this morning. Haven't been able to break that level, and then you get this big red candle over here, and then look at this Tesla look over here, the corresponding look. So we have this trough over here, and it was higher than this trough, which was higher than this trough. Now, if we get a break of this trough, this will be a newer low, and that puts the whole trend that we were talking about, higher lows with a flat top, into question. So if 248 breaks, I'm definitely going to be looking short there.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. Also, so I did get out of Tesla just because I was getting a little bit kind of nervous. Maybe I should have stayed in a little bit longer because we could be seeing a little bit, just looking at the tape, a little bit of recovery, that 248.20, but I didn't like how quickly we fell down from that 248.30 area, which is why I got out. But yeah, we're gonna have to see where we go from here. I like the look of this. We're gonna have to see what happens. But yeah, same. Like I think honestly, like the looking for, and this is a big thing I learned as well from Sharif, is like the idea of like like looking for these like kind of lower lows and higher highs and seeing again, everyone's strategy is going to be different, but I find it specifically for my rangier purposes, I like seeing stuff that's kind of breaking out of these ranges because I think it's kind of an interesting way to look for trades. For now though, I'm probably going to let Tesla drive on its own for just a moment because I'm out of that. Still looking at Moderna pulling back in a little bit in that way I like. Again, I'm not going to hop into this. I'm not going to assume it's going to continue singular to repeat this pattern. That being said though, look at this. We'll have a little bit of pullback. Then we'll come back to a flat top, we'll break out of it. So I want to give it the option to do that for me again. Probably how I would play this out now that I played it once and I've seen it play out twice now. What I will be waiting for is that kind of establishment of that top, and then I'll probably piece it a little bit, then maybe we'll DCA it. If I see some more movement here, we'll get into that trade. That's the look here. Still cannot believe this thing is up almost 16%. So it makes me a little bit nervous. How much more momentum does Moderna have in its syringe? But hopefully a little bit more, because I want, I think we could get a little bit more out of this one, because this has been such a strong name. Also, Moderna and Pfizer were some of the weakest names in 2023. Oh yeah. There was actually a graphic, showing that. So I think it definitely has room to go to the upside. As funny as that sounds when we're 15+% up on the day, but I do think we have room to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. So close here to getting stopped out on TSLA as it's awfully close into that 248 area. If it breaks 248, I'm going to be looking to flip short. May not get in right away at 248, like flip from long to short. May wait for a better price to pop up to get a better cost basis, but we'll see. We got to get stopped out first on TSLA. It's almost flat at the moment here, down 0.12. The other trade that I'm in, awfully close to getting filled at that 30.15 area. That's that Pfizer look that we've been dealing with since we basically got on the show. The first peak wetter here was at that 30.25, and then we were able to get a better price. Next level looking to get filled about a penny from where we are right there. So it's got to cross 15s here for us to get the fill, and there we go. We get the fill as it moves into 16s. So Pfizer continuing to march to the high side, even though the NQ and the ES not really complying at the moment. Back to TSLA here as I'm anticipating this getting triggered, my stop loss getting triggered at any moment. It's not really crossing yet, but I feel like it's just, it's going to be a nice flat bottom break through 248. This will be a lower high and a lower low. If this actually manifests, bless you, Neil, we'll have to wait and see what we get on TSLA, but awfully close to that stop at the moment. Look at Pfizer move up. So two trades going two different directions. Pfizer working its way up into that 320 area. So we'll set up another profit taker at 320 for it to get filled, but Tesla not giving up the ghost yet at 248 there.
Yeah, I mean,
we have another few minutes before we start the lesson again, yeah.
Exciting times. Yeah, I think one name that's always on my watch list is Eli Lilly. And I did miss, unfortunately, I was trying to get filled at this 586.50. Why? Because that was, again, I'm still trading SIM as well. But I did like that we had this sort of situation where we kind of crossed above this 586.50. We had a little bit of resistance there earlier. We had a double bottom. Fortunately, I did not get filled. This one continued to swoop to the upside without me. But we did have that failure around 590.50. So that's a lower high. If I continue to see some movement to the downside, I might scalp about $1 out of this and see how this goes. We're gonna have to wait and see here. Yeah, Patrick Langlois saying, still confused on that Tesla catalyst. Yeah, I mean, it was a weird one. We had really strong delivery numbers, just did not come to fruition. But yeah, I think Eli Lilly definitely on my radar. Weirdly, a lot of health biotech names on my radar. Someone in the chat, I forget who it was, please let me know if it was you, but mentioned LabU, which is the Direction Daily S&P Biotech Bull, as like a good kind of counterplay, or I guess with the trend play for those Pfizer, Moderna moves. Eli Lilly I'd put in that category as well. I like the look of this. I was watching this as we kind of moved to the upside, but then we made a lower low. Now I'm a little bit, less enthused, but I'm trying to get more into trading these I guess, ETFs. We talked a little bit about ETFs with Futures Week. But yeah, I think I'm trying to trade different things, especially going into the new year as I hopefully further my trading journey and my growth and my learning. I would like to try to trade different types of entities. So here we go. I do like the look of this LabVIEW. I traded IWM last week as well briefly, so let's look at the Russell. Russell, an interesting look as well. We are having higher highs, higher lows, sort of a double top here, albeit very small scale at this 201.50, so I'm going to keep an eye on this. But I do not dislike the look of IWM right now at all. But again, not going to trade it unless it really comes to fruition, trying to diversify and see what happens this year. NVIDIA also dropping off a little bit. If we make a lower low here, much like Tesla, NVIDIA could be a move to the downside. Oh, you shorted Tesla?
Yeah, yeah. So I got in right on the break, like I said I would. And here we go, moving down into the downside, newer low coming in. So we'll see whether this one continues to head to the downside or not. I already wet my beak there at the $0.50. Let's see what we get. Let's set up some other profit takers here at different levels. Let's put it at a third and we'll see what we get there. The Pfizer trade, not bad, knocking on the door of 320, a couple of rejections right now at that 320 area, but you know, we're still stepping up, lots of higher highs and higher lows moving in here on Pfizer to knock on the door of that 320 area. So I think I have this one in the right direction. But you're really looking for that break from the top there around 3.25. So we'll have to wait and see what we get there. All right, should you go through it a little bit here? You don't have a scanner though.
I don't have scanners.
That's the thing, yeah. So you can't. Yeah. Okay, so it has to be me then.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's all right. It's not your fault. We can set that up for you. All right, guys. We are talking about scanners today. How to figure out what to trade. Specifically, we've been talking about small caps, but that's not the only reason or the only use that you can put scanners to work for you. They are fantastic for everything else, and we've been talking about other uses for them as well. Let's go ahead and bring in the trusty scanner and talk about what I'm seeing on the day. So this one here is the most active, the one that we left off with. What is doing the most amount of shares on the day? As you can see here, it is the SQQQ with 84.5 million shares, and that's not surprising given that the NASDAQ is down 1.75%, followed by SOXS, which is the triple levered bear semi ETF. That's also done 78.2 million shares. The reason you want to look for the names that are doing the most amount of volume is you want to see what the most eyes are on. It doesn't actually have to be the highest in terms of gappers to the high side or the low side, but you want to see what traders are focusing on. That typically gives you an indication with respect to market sentiment. You can see third on that list is Mara, 73.3 million shares, but Mara is almost flat on the day technically. It's only up 1/3%, but when you look at this column over here, this gives you an idea what Mara's been doing since the bell. Mara is down 11.5% since 9:30 a.m., despite the fact that it's still up 1/4% on the day. And that's why I always have these two columns next to one another. The change percentage, which is either calculated from 4 a.m. today or 4 p.m. on Friday, depending on the scanner. Each parameter is going to be different, versus what it's been doing since 9:30. And this kind of really shows that dichotomy right there. 1/3% to the high side since 4 a.m., but 11.5 to the low side since essentially 9:30 a.m., followed by TSLA. And Tesla's done 70 million shares on the day, even though it's almost flat, down 1/3%. But look at what its comparable is, and that's why I have this column in there, which is average volume. It's done 70 million shares. I'm talking about Tesla, but the average volume over the past year is 120 million shares. So Tesla, even though it's the #1 volume in the Mag 7, of the Mag 7, it's done well below its 1-year average of 120 million shares. Well, at least so far. We're only 1 o'clock, so we still have 3 more hours to trade. So good look there. This is basically the most active. Top percentage gainers. This is where you find the small cap gappers. This is where you're going to find them, right? And then you have the likes of, let's see here, LBPH up 227%, right? But look at this over here, the change since open. It's only up 7% since the open. So what if I want to look at what's been moving the strongest since the open. I click this bad boy, and then I get POL. POL is up 52% since the bell rung, a lot stronger than that other one, followed by CDIO, 31% since the bell rung. Very important to be able to tell what it's been doing since 4 a.m. and what it's been doing since 9:30. Let me just quickly check on my trade. So Pfizer we got filled at 320, so that's doing well. Let's see here with TSLA, we're doing the dance here at the $0.5 level. I'm waiting at the third to get filled on the short. We'll see what this one does. Yeah, back to the scanner over here, moving down the list, moving down the column, sorry. This one is here, your 5-minute volume. What is the stock doing? How many shares has the stock traded in the last 5 minutes? The reason this one is important is you want to see what traders are looking at now, not what traders were looking at 10:30 this morning or 11 o'clock. Where is the volume finding its way into now, especially in terms of small caps? You know how these ones are. You know, all of a sudden, POL was the rage this morning, then CDIO became all the rage for whatever reason. And you're going to be able to see that using the 5-minute volume column over here to show you what it's been doing recently. And then I have my 52-week high and 52-week low for these ones as well. And the reason is, if it's a small cap gapper, I want to know if it's a former runner. Meaning, does this one typically make these outlandish, oversized moves on any one given day in the past? And in this case, it's going to show me the past 52 weeks. The reason being, if it's run before, there may be a reason it could run again. There could be any number of reasons. The sector that it's in, a very volatile sector like biotech, or the short flow, or the float itself, right? So many different reasons that this one could be running. It's gapping up aggressively because there's a high short float, or it's gapping up aggressively because there's a small float all in all. And this is gonna kind of give you an idea of whether this one is more likely to run or if it's run in the past, essentially. That's all you're really looking at here. Looking back at this Tesla trade, big move down. Very pleased that I switched short on this one. Now we're looking possibly for that 247 pop. Let's wet our beak a little bit over here. You know, the Katina minutes print. What are you printing on, Mara? Yeah, the Katina minutes continuing to print on MARA. What's your next out for there if you would like to share it? He's just going to hold it, and you know, wherever the wind blows, he's going to go. He's short at 24.64. We have 10%. And he has 10% remaining on his trade. So he's looking, you know, to get the best price possible, essentially.
Well, that's a nice look.
Yes. So that is basically my scanner over here. And then the last column is whether the stock is shortable on my particular platform. But let's bring in Trade Ideas, because Trade Ideas has its own little setup over here. And in case you are wondering, you can get this exact platform as you're looking at it, and all the customizable features that it has using the TraderTV25 code. Visit tradeideas.com and use TraderTV25 to get 25% off. Shout out to the NOS boss and his crew over there. This is essentially very much the same thing that I have on my other platform, except, you know, I get a couple of variations over here. The volume today and the average volume is a little different. On my platform, the average volume is calculated over a year. On this particular one, I chose to do the 5-day volume to kind of get the idea of what this is doing relative to the last trading week. And then the position ring over here. This shows you where the stock is relative to its highs and lows on the day. So for example, YOSH over here, you can see because the bar is very close to its ending, this means that it's very close to its high price of the day, whereas you can see POL, now it's below the mean, right? It's starting to get into a little bit of red. So this one shows you how well that particular stock is doing at any one period, given its price on the day. And then the last column over here, you can't probably see it because it's in really small letters, is gap. This one shows you how much a stock is gapping up versus its previous close. Really important whether you're long bias or short bias. If you're long bias, some people want the biggest gapper. They want the one that's really popping off because they say, okay, well, if it's gapping up big, there must be a reason it's gapping up big. The catalyst must be great, and I want all the smoke. mean reversion traders will say, oh, great, show me the one with the biggest gap because I want to take that bad boy all the way south and fill the gap from the south side. So whatever your philosophical inclination is, whether you're long, short, or somewhere in the middle, gap percentage column, really important to see how much this one is gapping up a Dara.
Yeah, no, I think what's cool too about that is I think especially like a little bit different from contrast to what I'm doing with the watch list in the morning, which I appreciate, is it's looking not just at what we're doing pre-market, though there is a lot of emphasis on pre-market, but also what we're doing intraday. Because like I was saying earlier, I think one of the biggest things I learned pretty fast was like a big cold splash of water on my face when I first kind of began, admittedly still very early in my trading journey. But the thing is, I think it's really easy to get swept in, like whatever's moving pre-market, whatever's on the watch list is that's the word of the day. It's definitely going to continue moving, and that's not the case. So I appreciate that you have that aspect of the watch list where, or on your scanner, sorry, where it shows you like what we've moved since open and what we've done since pre-market or post-market, because it can show you, like for example, Mara, the movement that we had pre-market is vastly different from the movement we're having today. Where like, if you looked at the pre-market, you'd be like, ha, short Mara today. And it's like, well, Mara is very shortable. Sean just, his dollar club Mara short, right? So, pardon?
He's reloaded 4 times.
Ooh, yeah, right. Like, so Mara, that really crazy look at Mara. And I think that's why I appreciate the scanner, so that we don't even have to look at the chart right away to see what the movement's been all day. It's just telling you, hey, Sharif, or hey, whoever you are, look at this, right? So I appreciate that. As someone who, I'm trying to get more into the scanner move during the day, I use them mostly when I'm at the big desk, and also during pre-market. So I think it's interesting to think about like other little tidbits to have in mind, so that before you look at the chart, like I said, I think the charts are really good for kind of confirmation, but before you even look at the chart, you can get a sense of what's the movement been all day. What kind of volume are we seeing? Is this outsized volume for the stock? Has the stock run in the past? And then you can kind of contextualize all of that with where will my entry be based on what you're seeing on the chart.
Great question from Fee Rhymes with AMC. One that, many people may have in the chat, especially newer traders. There are no volatility halts in the pre and post market. Don't think SSR works during pre and post either, does it? My understanding is SSR is not triggered after market or pre-market. But I know for a fact that there are no volatility halts in pre and post market. There are other halts though in the pre and the after market. There are news pending halts that work either at 4 a.m. or at 8 p.m. But with respect to volatility, that's triggered after the 9:30 bell, and it no longer is valid after 4 p.m. And so a lot of times what you'll see is the small cap gappers really kind of do nothing until, they'll close near highs, but they'll be in a really tight range until 4 o'clock hits. And then watch what they do at 4 o'clock or 4:05 or 4:10. They'll start flying to the high side because traders know that there's not going to be any volatility halt parameters after 4 o'clock. So they'll take advantage of that and they'll really squeeze it, especially if it's a short float, especially if it has a high shorter float. So make sure you kind of know that kind of, the dynamic of the small cap gappers and what they could do after 4 o'clock. We already know that that's the case pre-market when all the eyes are on it, but it's equally as important after market as well. All right, Tesla kind of did a little bit of a dance there. Here we go, right back down into that $0.25 area on TSLA. Down we go. Let's see if we can get into 247. We're getting really aggressive here on that move down on Tesla. We'll wet our beak on that. We're knocking on the door of 247. Could we break 247 here? We'll have to wait and see. We're going to wait on the other side of this one at around 80, 87s, because what's life without whimsy on this big move down. Now we're back at 16.7 though. So we have to watch for a possible bounce here on Tesla, because what the future could do is it could bounce off 16.7. And if that's the case, then Tesla gets a bit of a bounce and it ends up defending 247. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm just saying something to be cognizant of. Know where you are in the future if you're trading these Mag 7 names. At least that's what I think, right? Here we are on the future, kind of coming back near VWAP. We didn't even really make it into that 16.8, the 100-point area, but we got into that high at around 10 a.m. We weren't able to break that high on even one ascent there. 16.789, 16.790, about 10 points off that 16.8 area was the top, and we moved right back down into 16.7, trying to hold 16.7 right now. Technically, the low on the day is 16.885, so we'll have to see how that all pans out. But yeah, Tesla was the strongest of the bunch. There was no question about that. And by bunch, I'm talking about the Magnificent Seven mega cap names. But now it is kind of giving up the ghost, knocking on the door of 247. And here we go to the downside. Let's see if that whole dollar is able to hold.
Yeah, we'll have to let's see. No, I think that level, that 16.8 on the NQ was definitely really interesting, and I think kind of a key level there. So one to keep an eye on. I want to look at a couple of these Mag 7 names, because these are always ones I'm keeping an extra eye on for my my scanner purposes for my watch list, because they're ones that always get a lot of volume. Volume is something that matters. We were talking a little bit earlier with you're talking with Nimit, I believe, in the chat about volume, and I mean it's gonna different people are gonna look for different things, but I think volume is always a factor worth considering, right? And I think with regards to volume, these Mag 7 names always do have that those movements. I also, I saw, I pulled up Apple, because M Stone in the chat saying, is anyone here defending Apple? Because man, it looks ugly. Positive Insights also have Apple emoji, bear emoji, and then 100 emoji. Yeah, I mean, Apple, gotta say, it's very weak on the day. We did have that Barclays downgrade. There was a CNBC article I was reading about that. The analyst basically saying that they're a little bit skeptical about iPhone-related prospects here. I'm going to pull this up for myself so I can get the right wording on this. But yeah, it did have to do with what was, I guess, their thoughts on the iPhone. They were worried because of weakening iPhone 15 sales. There we go. And they said those are probably a bad sign for iPhone 16 sales. So that was what the analyst had said on that from Barclays. Yeah, definitely downgrading it to from equal weight to underweight. So yeah, pretty significant underweight rating for Apple. What I find interesting is we didn't make a lower low here. We have come down to that 185.70, so I'm going to keep an eye on that. What I think is interesting, though, is we had that a little bit of consolidation at 187 before falling back down. I'm not going to call it a long for myself. Again, I'm still a very new trader, but my take on this chart is still looks like it's to the downside, but this higher low is a little bit of interest, just something I would be keeping my eye on here. But yeah, definitely down about 3.5% in Apple. I would agree it is not a very pretty look, M Stone. Also, still eyeing Moderna for a slightly different reason now. So Moderna, we're still up 15% of the day. But what I noticed is we had that, a little bit of move to the downside, a move up, then a swoop down, and a move back up. I want to see what we do here, because I don't want to, again, I was saying earlier, a big thing I'm learning here is participate, don't anticipate, paralysis by analysis. But what I am seeing that's kind of interesting, although it's a slightly slanted one, is it looks like we could have a bit of a head and shoulders move happening here. And I say that because shoulder, head, a little neckline here, shoulder. So, I mean, it's a slightly lopsided head and shoulders. I don't want to make any assumptions, and the fact that we had a slightly, we're still having higher lows, but I just want to keep an eye on this, because especially with something this high on the day, I want to be open to wherever this is going to go. Because we could fall down with a vengeance, or we could also continue to the upside, because Moderna has a really strong catalyst with that sales growth in 2025 projected according to the CEO. And then also, we had, the upgrade from Oppenheimer. So I think it's an interesting look for Moderna, to be fair. Harun in the chat saying, I cannot believe Moderna today. I was waiting for a VWAP bounce at 101, sad face. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, this one, 101, makes sense for an interesting look here. We just took off so quickly Moderna. This one just injecting the market with its energy to the upside. I think especially too, one of the things I learned early, to pay attention to is, and I feel very lucky that I'm in this room with all these experienced traders, right, who have so much knowledge to offer, is that when something is moving counter trend, it's, something to what the rest of the market's doing, it's something worth paying attention to. So on a day when we're very much moving to the downside with a lot of these bigger names, the fact that Moderna is up 15.5%, it was up 16% earlier, is something worth taking notice of. So I don't want to discount that movement. I'm going to keep keeping an eye on this.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, so getting another support bounce here on the future at around 16.7. This is kind of what we were worried about. Well, I was worried about at this critical 100-point level. Nothing really to write home about, but getting initial support right now. Took my Tesla trade off for that specific reason, but ended up being a little bit profitable there. Let's focus now on this Pfizer trade and see if we can get that nice touch into 3.30.30. So we already got a nice little break there at 3 1/4. Let's see if we can get one at 3 1/3. All right, but moving on with the lesson. So the chart the scanner that I've been showing you guys is a top U.S. gainers, okay? But there's so many different things that we can change in this scanner to make it customizable. First and foremost, we're focusing on equities. So right on the top here, you choose U.S. stocks, U.S. equity ETFs, fixed income ETFs, futures, indexes, corporate bonds, CDs, treasuries, etc. So you can narrow your instrument down over here, and then you can use the exchange selector over here. So you want to see things on the NYSE, AMEX, ARCA, the NASDAQ, OTC markets. You select that bad boy over here, and then your filters. You have different filters that you can add. So many different filters. You can include, volume. You can include actual indicators, things that are holding VWAP, things that are coming closer to Bollinger Bands, so many different indicators or filters, that you can add over here. The two that are really concern me the most for small caps are price and volume. So for price, I filtered everything that is sub 85 cents and everything that has done less than 250,000 shares of volume. Like I mentioned earlier, volume you could have a couple of scanners, one for pre-market, one for after the bell, and have a lower amount of volume threshold for pre-market equities rather than what you would have after the bell. The reason I filter below 85 is the ones that are going to make their way up to $1. I kind of want to get a head start on to kind of know that they're inching closer to that $1, because oftentimes that dollar break can be quite fruitful. So if you're prepared for it ahead of time, it definitely can be one of the trades that's solid there. In the same way that we can search for top percentage gainers, we can search for top percentage losers using the same filters, the same parameters, what have you. So that's what this side of the equation is all on. So you have top percentage losers over here. You have the most active. You have the most active by dollar. You have halted. The scanner can actually track halted stocks to see what's halted at any moment, which is interesting for days when there are multiple halters. You can kind of keep tabs on them using this particular scanner. You top trade count, things touching their 52-week highs, different instruments touching their 52-week lows, and not even just 52-week. You can do different time periods as well, like 13 weeks, 26 weeks, etc. Let's see what else we have here. Things that are hot by options volume, so you can include options in your scanner as well to see if there are any interesting whale purchases or on calls or puts. You can use that as well. So many different things that you can filter this scanner for. It's not just for small cap gappers. You're gonna have to play around with it and see which of these filters and which of these parameters fits your trading style and what you may want to use them, things that are not that important. But the scanner is one of the best methods to have stock, or one of the best methods to find stocks to trade on any particular day. It's not just for things that are gapping up and down, but for a multitude of different options. So that's my particular proprietary scanner. Let's bring in Trade Ideas. Trade Ideas lets you do the exact same thing over here. So have a look at what I can do with the Trade Ideas one. So we have the biggest gainers percentage, but remember when we talked about the different options that we had? Look at this one, range bound to above upper daily Bollinger Bands. So if you want things that are, if you want to base your scanner off what the stock is doing relative to the Bollinger Bands, you can absolutely do that. And the reason you might want to do that is if you're a mean reversion trader and you know something's extended, been holding the upper Bollinger Band for a while, and you're looking to take it maybe into the moving average or to the lower Bollinger Band, you can filter for that. Conversely, if you're looking for a stock that's depressed depressed levels. It's been holding the lower Bollinger Band line, and you want to take a bounce, you do that as well. So many different ways you can set this up. You're really going to have to play around with it, but just know that this is one of the best tools that you can use, and it's typically offered by most trading platforms and most retail investor. Oh, you got it to work.
Yeah,
How'd you get
it's
it to
under
work?
movers. It's under movers. That's how I pulled it up.
It's not under scanner.
Yeah,
oh, I got
apparently
it.
it's under
Okay.
movers, which is cool. Yeah,
Show them.
so I will show. Yeah, so look at this. So you can, some of these features are locked too, but you can kind of adjust like market cap that you want to see. We can see that LBPH, long board number 1 with a 200+ % move to the upside. I can sort it by gainers only. So long board is still a winner here. Then I could sort by losers only. And it gives you the ticker, the name of the company, percentage change, previous close, volume. So then you can kind of sort as well, because part of you might be like, oh, IMIX, like I want to short this, but then you're like, oh, never mind. Like the volume's only 89,000, the average volume is 300,000, so we're below the 3-month average volume. You know what I mean? So just kind of interesting stuff to keep an eye on too. So yeah, I was playing around and trying to pull this up because I was like, I want to look at scanners too. But yeah, here we are. I think this is a really interesting one. Interesting feature, and again, I'm always talking about Benzinga, just another interesting facet that Benzinga has here as well. A lot of little baby healthcare names here too. There's NGM, not MGM, to the upside here. This long board, yeah, I think it's a really interesting look here on the scanners here for Benzinga. Also, I have a question. So do you find, because I think it's something I'm curious about, and I think maybe some people in the chat as well could be curious about, who knows. Do you find that your parameters for what you actually look for in terms of like your scanners have changed? Like as you develop your trading style, do you find that you've ever changed your parameters? Like you, or is it?
I don't feel restricted by them.
Okay.
I mean,
I was just curious.
Yeah, no, absolutely, because I used to filter everything sub $1, and then Neil gave me the idea. He's like, look, if you're going to trade these $1 breakouts, you need to know when they're going to come into that dollar before they're actually at a dollar. And so then that made me think, I'm like, okay, I'll just filter out below 85 pennies. Yeah. And with respect to volume as well, like I was giving the example of pre-market volume versus after-market volume.
Yeah.
So it's something that I don't really have any quorums changing.
Okay.
I mean, I don't have a problem at all. It just has to make sense for me.
No, yeah, I was just curious about it because I think as I think everybody hopefully is especially with how to trade, right, or learn to trade.
Yeah.
I think learning what you're kind of comfortable with. I guess I was just curious, about that journey there. I also think it's interesting too that you have the 250,000 as your volume kind of cut off too, because that kind of shows, I guess, that there's some interest, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, even if it's not at $1 million yet, it's like people are sharks are waiting at the water there, right?
Yes,
so I think I appreciate that. And I think that was something
Absolutely.
I found interesting, and I appreciate you answering that question too.
Absolutely. So Pfizer's coming into that $30 level again. So that puts in a lower high. So I think I'm just going to end this trade real soon here on PFE, because what I wanted was that higher high, right? And there was a reason for that. We were in an uptrend, and now if this is as good as it's going to get, this 30.25, that should be basically the indication to me that we're going to put in lower highs, and what typically comes from that is lower lows as well. So we'll get that, 29.80-ish break. We'll have to wait and see if that ends up panning out. But I am cognizant of Pfizer being at that $30 area. With respect to Tesla, reshorted Tesla at VWAP here, looking for a move down. If this breaks that 2/3 of a dollar, I'm just going to be out of this one, Adara, and then kind of give a break here on TSLA. But we did put in a lower high and a lower low, looking for that VWAP rejection. To see if we can move this back down into 247. But if it keeps heading to the high side, that is it. I will be out. I'm not sure what GL means or GI means, stone, M stone, but good luck. Oh, my bad. Okay. Sharif's mom's in the chat, apparently. Uh-oh. That's no good. My mama is not in the chat though. But my mom, I was telling my mom that there was a person named Sharif's mom in the chat. She's like, "Who is this imposter?"
She's like,
she was very disappointed about it.
Yeah, tisk. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that. Yeah.
What do you got over there?
I'm watching Eli Lilly because we are above a milli, like I said, and I like that we kind of have this Scotia consolidation around this 588.50 area.
Guys, chart. Thank
you. Because we had that skosh of consolidation around this 588.50 area. Earlier, 588.50 was sort of an area where we caught what we fell down a little bit before picking back up here around that 1215 area. Then earlier as well, this is sort of an area of interest, this 588.50, 587 kind of area. So I'm going to keep an eye on this. I'm not going to get involved too hastily. I also should address my rough NVIDIA trade. I was saying, I think it was Zion Lala on the chat talking about NVIDIA. We were going back and forth, and I said, I think I'm out NVIDIA for the day. I'm not of trades. If I see another setup, I'll get in on that. But NVIDIA and I are not, it's not the vibes today. I had one successful trade in NVIDIA. Second time, this one just kept falling out from under me. The setups were okay. We were moving upwards or in the direction, because I guess I've been going along NVIDIA all day, so upward. And then it just kind of fell out. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to keep forcing, I don't want to keep chasing waterfalls. You know what I mean? If it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. For today, I'm going to give myself some space from NVIDIA, so we will be out NVIDIA of this one. Not forever, just for the day. I feel like every time I get out of this long and then it continues moving to the upside, and I'm like, I don't want to have FOMO. I see setups, they're just not working out. This is kind of a wild trading day, first trading day of the new year, so we're gonna let it breathe. I am, also still looking at this Tesla here, because, we're still making lower lows, lower highs. If we fail this 489, I guess, area, 489, I'm thinking NVIDIA again, 249 area, I might short Tesla as well, because I do not mind the look of this, and it would be a failure of making this a higher high. So that would be of interest to me. Also, Moderna. Moderna is another example of sometimes, and I was talking about this earlier, I think one of the biggest things I learned when I began my trading journey, and again, very new still in the sim, but I think what's interesting is a lot of the things sometimes you can't close off your watch list, and that's why I think scanners are helpful, right? You have to see what's moving during the day. Moderna was something that wouldn't be necessarily in a pre-market watch list because it started popping at 925, but it's like something that is still worth keeping an eye on. So I like, we had this big move to the upside. We're still up about 15, 20. I was wondering if this was going to be short. I was like, are we going to have a head and shoulders? But you can't anticipate moves. That's not looking like what it is now. If we continue to make higher highs, I'm back in Moderna. We're going to get that shot back to the upside, hopefully. We're going to give it another shot. Pun. Thank you so much to Hog Rider in the chat. Absolutely love the puns. I'm going to be out video. I am laughing out loud. Keep it coming. Love the humor. Thank you so much. I'm hopefully entertaining. I'm also hoping to learn a little bit too, and I'm learning a lot from Sharif, Neil, Sean, Brendan, everybody in the chat, and all the traders back here as well.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
Appreciate everybody for the support. Hopefully learning and getting better at trading a little bit every day.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Haroon saying I wouldn't bet against Moderna today. Yeah, me neither. That's why I was like, I was considering maybe a short if it did get head and shouldery, but it looks like that shoulder, kind of booted me out of that thought process. So
Yep.
We're gonna keep looking for the upside. How goes Tesla and Pfizer?
It's okay.
Is this nothing?
There's another interesting scanner over here. You can filter by volume over a certain amount of time. So I showed you how to include that in your column, but say you want to see what's doing the most amount of volume in the last 5 minutes or the last 3 minutes. Reason being, if something was to catch a catalyst, typically the algos are the ones that respond quickest to it, not humans. But the algos tip their hand because, well, they have to buy and sell stocks, and that creates volume. So if you really want to know what's moving in the minute, you may want to create high 3-minute volume scanner, a high 5-minute volume scanner, something around that to let you know what's up. Are they good? Yeah, because I got into XLF today.
Wow, good.
Yeah, I told you that I was get into that last week. Yeah, the city's flying. It's up 3%. JPM up 1%. Goldman's up 2/3. Bank of America 1.1. I told you I was getting into financials. Yeah, I had to. I mean, the Katina man is funny. Yeah, guys. You guys know I took an L on UNG, and so I've redeployed that money into financials. A lot of commentators speaking about how it's going to be a great year for financials. We'll see. I'm in XLF. I wet my beacon and entry position today. We'll see how that ends up doing the rest of the year. But yeah, financials is part of my portfolio now, in addition to Li Auto, Caterpillar, and Apple. Those are the 4 that I'm holding. We are out for $1.25 loss on that UNG. We tried, but it didn't work out. And I see UNG's popping off now, or lately anyway. Nat gas back. UNG's above $5, man. It was like 4.25 last week, so it was getting decimated. Nat gas up 1.5%, largely due to what's happening, I think, in the Red Sea. There's really no reason why nat gas should be running up. Europe seems to have a lot of nat gas reserves. North America does as well. This trade really was based upon a really cold winter and to kind of take these storage people by surprise. But it seems like as if El Nino is rearing its head this year, and as a result, we're going to have a bit of a warmer winter than what typically expected. All right, let's talk about some of these Mag 7 names here, because Apple is coming awfully close to its day's low. Again, rejecting off that 50 period here. The best it could do on its ascent up was that 187 1/3, and then since that time, we've dropped $2 coming into that 185 1/3. We still haven't touched that 185.18, which is technically the low of day. That 185 level is being looked at as an interesting support level by some individuals in the chat. I would have to agree, at least. We'll have to see whether or not it ends up breaking on the day. But Apple, very depressed at those levels right now. Or be careful if you are trying to long this stock, quite frankly. Let's see what is going on with this Pfizer trade. Yeah, we're at $30 here. So it looks like we're going to, if this breaks, I'm going to get out of that. And then Tesla finding its momentum again, doing that dance with VWAP here, not really taking it with any decisiveness, but it's definitely putting in some higher highs. So Tesla, a very small position here. Let's see if we can get that move down on TSLA, but it's kind of consolidating. I don't want to say it's consolidating because that's not accurate, but it's doing this kind of side dance here at this VWAP level. At least it is on my chart. So we'll have to see what direction Tesla chooses. It's very flat on the day right now, up 0.11%. It's plus a little bit, below a little bit. We'll have to see what we get. Preston H. Hey Sharif, recently got funded and I'm trading 150K. Most money I've seen in my life. Advice for calming my nerves, trusting my setups. Went NQ 16785 at 1239, but dollar is messing with my brain. Look, man, I can't agree with you more. It is an emotions game here. Look, I don't know if you're long or short. Did you say if you're long or short? Went short. Okay, minus. NQ 16785, 785. Where are we at here? You're doing real well. I would have personally wet my beak on some profits at 16.7 because, well, it seems to be the 100-point level. It's a support level. It's a bit of a double bottom, even though the right side of the double bottom a little bit higher than the left side, which typically shows a little bit of bullishness. But to be quite honest with you, I think you rinse and repeat until you can get above 16.8 or VWAP. Right now, VWAP's south of 16.8 too. These two were on par. Going for the majority of the morning right now. So if you get anything in and around there, I would suggest you re-up your, but again, do you? You're obviously a funded trader, you know what you're doing, but it seems to be a short the pop type day on the Future or on any of these Mag 7 names, at least for the moment, maybe with the exception of TSLA here. As it really gets going above 249, I'm gonna have to cut this. If it breaks above that 249 area, waiting for Tesla to move back down. But yeah, good look for you. 16.7 bottom, obviously with a 16.8 top. See if you can get anywhere in and around that. Clearly you're range trading it at this now. So where we got here? Yeah, Tesla, we're gonna have to be careful with this one as it's coming into that 249. What else has been moving on the day? Put in some other tickers. Guys, I know that the chips have absolutely been decimated on the day today, so they've been really good shorts as well. We showed you SOXS, which is the triple levered bear semi ETF, was number 2 in terms of volume on the day. And that's not for no reason, as you have NVIDIA down 2 1/3, AMD down 5 2/3, Intel 4% to the south side, even Micron getting in on the action in the red 2 3/4. Likewise with TSM, which is down 2 1/4. ARM takes the cake though, down 7%, which kind of makes sense, to be honest with you, that it would be down the most because it's been up the most. ARM was very, very strong going into the end of the year last year, now down markedly today. The only one, I mentioned this earlier, the only chip name that is green on my semis watch list is SMCI, Supermicrocomputer, up 2/3%, but on very low volume, 1.2 million shares. So, yeah, I see that, Shervin. Yeah, you were telling, yeah, Shervin's telling me to check SMCI. See, it's up 2/3% on the day. It's up 2.2% since the open. So since the bell rang, it's up over 2%. Again, though, on lower volume. Yeah, that's really my look there. Not much else to say, except that if Tesla breaks 249, I'm out.
Yeah, I have to say I really like the range on SMCI. I just pulled it up, and this is the type of look I love. Like we have sort of a triple bottom, sort of a double top, more or less. If you look at the tops, it looks slightly like we might be doing a bit of a wedge here. I'll try to draw. We know I'm not the best at drawing these lines, but we'll try. Yeah, there we go. So we have, and here's where I say, yeah, I guess when I draw it, it's actually a bit more compression wedgy than I thought. But yeah, not at all a bad look on SMCI, minus that volume. But look, like more or less flat bottom, slightly less flat top. I'm gonna keep an eye on this one because I like stuff that plays within semi-defined ranges. Speaking of that, Eli Lilly, getting back into my sweet spot of 588. Where we had all that consolidation. Looks like we're picking up. I'm going to go hopefully get an order there and then jump into Eli Lilly, hop into that train because I do like the look of this one. Moderna cooling off a little bit. I've decided I'm going to let Moderna be for the moment because the movement may have faded just a little bit on this one. I don't want to get involved in it in a FOMO move. And I have nothing, we're not going to be FOMO. I got like, I was in the sim trade in this one earlier, about 80 cents on the rest of my shares here. So no regrets here on this one. So there we go. Yeah, and I think, I think too, like Eli Lilly is an example too. Sometimes, if there's specific stocks you like, you just, with regards to scanners, right, and watch lists and stuff you trade, if there's certain stuff you like, that's what side charts are for. Like I have Eli Lilly on my side charts just kind of for my knowledge, see, how this one's doing, because I think it's sometimes, it's good to kind of be apprised of stuff you like trading and kind of tailor your scanners to that. I should make a scanner for those like $400 plus movers, honestly, because that's the kind of stuff I like. But yeah, kind of getting a sense of I guess, and I think that's one of the interesting things about the scanners is like I asked Sharif, like, kind of does it change? And it's like, yeah, if you as you kind of grow as a trader, as you get different people's perspectives, you can, change your scanner and change your criteria and stuff like that. Nala Tammy in the chat saying shorting Tesla now. Yeah, I attempted a short on that Tesla off that 248.50 and I kind of got scared and got out. I like this 248.75 area on this Tesla short a little bit better. So I might get in on that because this was like maybe like a 20-cent loss here on the earlier Tesla short. I got up from the desk and I was just like, I don't want to leave this because Tesla does Tesla things and I don't want to let it do Tesla things without me there to monitor it and babysit it, But now we're breaking above this 249, so I'm like, we're gonna have to wait and see what we do here. If we reject 249, I might get back in this short, but I don't want to, do anything quite.
When is that out,
here.
Fabian? It's out. Yeah, I can't talk about that, but some list of some sort is out. You can go do your own homework on that. A list. Okay. Some list. All right, we'll just leave it like that for now.
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah, wow. Pfizer's really hugging this $30 area, but putting in lower highs. So really trying to decide whether I should get out of this or not. Yeah, interesting look there. It's two trades that I'm deciding whether to hold or whether to get out of. Tesla just broke through 249, but it's below it again. We're not really moving up on the future here, so we'll have to wait and see what we get on TSLA. Such a flat trade. I feel like I'm trading this within the range, which is not my style, so I'm probably just going to get out of this if it touches a quarter. But yeah, that's a look there. Not much else to talk about. Equities down big today because yields are popping. We got the 10-year coming into that 4% again, up 2.5%. The 2-year is up 1.2. The 30-year up big, 2.2%, much like the 10-year. I see people were talking about the DXY, the Dixie's up as well, hence why equities are down. What else we have here? Gold, yeah, is flat on the day. Oil was very strong on the day to start the day, but now it's down 1.5%. So oil coming back down, much like nat gas as well. So lots of volatility on the day, not just in equities world, but in a lot of the commodities as well. I'm seeing Amazon get a nice bounce up here through that 150 area on AMZN. So this is an interesting look here on Amazon. Much, completely dissimilar to some of these other names where you have lower lows being printed. Amazon had a higher low at that 149.50 and it just broke through 150, but with an obvious top there at that 150.5. So we'll have to see whether it can gonna get its legs under it and start trending to the high side. It's been a good look for everything except tech today. Tech down decidedly, except for Tesla. Tesla is up now 0.25%, and we are on the verge of getting stopped out on Tesla for the second time. So that will be 1 for 2 on this particular trade. There we go. And we are all out of Tesla. So we'll take an L there, and we're now negative on TSLA, but that's all right. T-Daddy out of Tesla as well. Smooth says Tesla isn't a short. Where were you 10 minutes ago? No, I'm kidding, of course. You got to trade your own book. Yeah, I'm finding it really kind of tough to see any good trades at the moment. So we'll just kind of sit on our hands for now and see what's up. 20 minutes left on the show. What are you looking at?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still trying to get this. I'm trying to get Philly on Eli Lilly, but we keep missing this opportunity here. I'm trying to get 588.50s. We're at 588.65. The way Eli Lilly moves, I think I've probably missed this opportunity and missed my shot. Pun sort of intended, but we're going to have to see here. Eli Lilly, all these health names, I think are, a decent look going into 2024. We had a lot of strength off to the Wegovy, Ozempic, Novo Nordisk, that I just named a company there. But, Mounjaro, all of these names, I think all these weight loss drugs still seem to be kind of interesting going into 2024. So I've read some kind of mixed analyst opinions on it. Some of the analysts I've read saying, we're still going to stay strong for these weight loss names heading into 2024. Some expecting a bit of a pullback. So we're going to have to see how this goes. I was reading, I think, a Forbes list of their biggest kind of movements going into 2024. And they said one of the things they mentioned was stuff with weight loss drugs. So I think Eli Lilly could still be kind of a play on that. I initially started trading Eli Lilly, partially because someone in the chat was like, you should check out this stock. It's kind of similar to stocks you like. But it was moving that day because of weight loss drug news, right? So I think Eli Lilly is an interesting one to keep an eye on here. We're about 10 cents away from my fill. We're going to see where this goes. Again, why I like this 588.50 area is because this was where we had, like that 588.50 was where we had some pickup here earlier. Again, earlier over here, we're up on the day. I would not short Eli Lilly right now unless it was a scalp short, but even then I'd probably be a bit cautious. We're gonna see how this goes. My out is this 588 or 587.85 because that'd be lower low, and that would be where I'm outie on this name. But generally, I mean, we had this nice double bottom, a nice move to the upside here. Jimbo Slice, where do you find the list? I just looked up, like top stock ideas going into 2024. That's where I found it. It was on Forbes. I think it was published early December. But yes, that's an interesting look. Roger's saying Uber was a short. Let's look at Uber. Uber, shout out to Obi. I almost said Uber, and I was like, oh, yeah, I mean, Uber was a short. Sorry, I made an excited sound there. I apologize to people's ears. But Uber, yeah, I would agree, Roger. Look at Uber. Roger that, I guess I'll say. Yeah, Uber very much moving to the downside. Apparently, today, 12:30ish, Steve Weiss announcing on CNN or CNBC that he had trimmed Uber Technologies. So yeah, I think this is definitely moved to the downside in Uber. Most recent thing I'm seeing here was we had that Nomura downgrade for Uber and Lyft on Friday. So Lyft not getting a lift there. It actually did get a price target lift, but a downgrade here for Uber and Lyft. That was on Friday. Not seeing anything else new, but that Steve Weiss announcing that the trimming of his Uber position could be what's moving this one here. Steady move to the downside for Uber, driving down that hill decidedly. Oh, I got filled on Eli Lilly, so that's exciting. A Philly on Lilly, we're over a milli. Okay, I'm very happy here. Profit taker planned. Maybe take a part of my position here and the rest around this 590.50, because again, I like going where we have like the most recent higher high. I'm gonna set some profit takers on this one.
LBPH moving nicely here. So this one was kind of dead a little bit earlier on. it was one of the biggest gappers to the high side early, and then it kind of just, was a bit of dead money from around 10 o'clock till around maybe 11:30 or so. Started putting in higher highs here, and now we just got into that $20 area. We got a $20 break coming into 20 and a third. We're still off that 2150 high, but it's doing that ABCD pattern, right? Where you could call it the ABCD pattern, or you could call it like what I call it, which is a VWAP hold high of daybreak. And that is essentially a big move up like you have here, and then you have essentially a flirt with VWAP, whether it's a little bit below or a little bit above. It kind of straddles VWAP, for a lack of a better term. And then in the more liquid part of the day, whether it's at 2 o'clock, 2:30, it starts getting going here, and it's already been going since it bottomed out there at 1650. At around 10:30, 10:45, been putting in higher highs and higher lows. Very volatile stock, though, I got to tell you. So, I mean, just popped up into 20 and a third, and it just rocketed right back down to 1950. So you can find yourself quickly out of the money on this one. So maybe scale, get in a really good price before you start, really scaling heavy into this. But VWAP featuring now in the price action. Lately, the dip down here at around 120 into VWAP was bought up immediately. A quick wick right into that $18 VWAP level, and then a nice move up into that 20 and a third like we were just talking about, making a newer high. So these higher highs and higher low pattern fully intact right now on LBPH as it continues to flirt with that 200% level. But keep your eye for that. Keep your eye on that 2150 break that we could get possibly more into power hour sometime around then. LBPH looking real good. CDIO is the other small cap gapper that I was talking about. It's doing that ABCD pattern as well, or the VWAP hold high of daybreak. The dips around 320, just a smidge above VWAP, have all been held. Sadly, though, it's been kind of putting in some lower highs over here after making that big move up into 356, making now lower highs, but the lower lows are not there. So, still holding that VWAP area with a lot less range than, say, something like LBPH. CDIO, a lot tighter range. It really opened up around $2, and where did it close out? $2.50. And the high today is 356. So it's a great looking chart, but in terms of price action, it's not the most upwardly bound, but a great look nonetheless. What else is moving here? POL kind of giving up the ghost. NGM holding VWAP at that $1.25. So some small cap gappers there. With respect to Tesla, happy I got that Tesla trade as it continues to head to the upside, now knocking the door of that 249.50, putting in a newer high too. So if this was a crest over here around 249 and change, now we're putting in that newer high on TSLA. A lot of bamboozlement today, I got to tell you, on Tesla. We were looking at that higher low, with a flat top at 251. Then we got this micro trend with lower highs and lower lows, and that's where I got involved and got cut up a little bit on TSLA. But great day for the name nonetheless, with the deliveries out big, year-over-year increase, 1.85 million produced, 1.81 million delivered worldwide in 2023. That's just, a couple 100,000, not even 150,000 cars short of that 2 million mark. I don't know when he earmarked what day or what date he earmarked for that 2 million delivery goal that he's been talking about. Yeah, I think he was talking about that earlier in the year when he had like different dates that he wants to achieve these deliveries by. So well on their way there to almost 2 million. Yeah, Roger, I'm out there taking shots, but it is what it is, baby. What else is the chat up talking to? Saad Mahmoud mentioned it earlier as sympathy with other pharmas. Yes, he's talking about LBPH. Saad was telling me earlier in the chat, that you have the Pfizer up, you have Moderna up, LBPH, a bit of a sympathy play off that, as that company is a clinical stage biopharma company. They're focused on neurological diseases. They have quite a decent product pipeline there with all these different ones I'm not going to read out. With respect to the technicals on this, it's got 17.1 million share float. Let's see what the short float is on this bad boy. Let's bring in trade ideas, a trusty trade idea scanner, and see what the short float is. LBPH. And that's not negligible, but it's very small. About a 3% of the float is shorted, and the float is 17.1 million. So not that many shares shorted, not that large of a percentage anyway. So I don't know if that'll be a factor, but that $20 level is certainly a factor. Every time we come up into this $20 area, we're met with either renewed selling or renewed shorting. You've gotten, you know, a nice move up there into 20 in the third, and it immediately retraced back down into sub 20. So all the closing prints subsequent to 1 o'clock all have been, at least on this 1 minute chart, all have been south of 20. But you're putting in that higher lows on that $20 area on LBPH. What's up, Katina, man? Apple continuing to head to the downside, so the Katina man continuing to print on his Apple short that he's been holding all morning. Good look for him there. LBPH just made another move into 20. Let's see if it can take it on a closing basis.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's been quite the move. Also, LBPH, there was some news there. I guess they announced top-line data from their seizure treatment. So that could be partially what's happening there in addition to the overall pharmacy push to the upside, right? I think Eli Lilly has benefited from this pharmacy push to the upside. Just got out of my position there, pieced it out, got part of it out. Again, we were scalping, we were watching levels, got part of it out of that 589 area, so about 50 cents in the money, got the rest at $1 in the money. Again, I am in the sim, so this is a paper trade, but yeah, just as I'm learning, feel very grateful to have this opportunity to kind of learn in the sim in front of everybody. But yeah, it's been a while since I've traded Lilly, so nice to start off January 2024 with a name that I enjoy trading and haven't had the opportunity to in a while. But you know, at New Year, I guess same stocks I like. We're you know, we had over 1 million in volume, which is why I was interested in this. Thank you, Saad. Yeah, nice patience. Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, I could have waited this out longer, but yeah, I waited for the opportunity to get filled. So here we are on that. Also, Binyam asking to check plug. Let's see what the plug is on plug. Oh, plug up 6.5%. Okay, I have to say, this is an interesting look. Yeah, I'm not seeing a catalyst on this, but what I like about plug, other than this, we're having trouble breaking above this 484 high. Don't love that look, but I will say what I like about this generally is that we've, for the most part, had higher lows, higher highs. Looks like we're kind of testing that trend line a little bit, this 478 area, sorry. But yeah, this is congrats to anybody in this plug long, because this is a supercharged move to the upside here. Let me see the daily on plug. I know you are not a huge plug power fan. We have talked about this, but yeah, I like this. We had a double bottom of this 3.5 on plug, and I have to say, plug did move up after that point. So it looks like that was the burst that needed this 3.5 double bottom. I mean, to call this an uptrend is to be slightly charitable. Like, we're still kind of, it's like a slightly, I would say, slightly diagonal flat, you know, flat channel. But not a bad look, and certainly a good move on the daily for plug. Not seeing a catalyst, but yeah, if you're in that long, congratulations to you, Binyam, and anybody else in the chat who is doing this. Also, I like this James Dell chat, because I think this is, you know, something we all need to remember. I bought the trend and the trend won. Yeah, I think that's a big thing. I'm still trying to learn. Like, you know, the trend is your friend until the end when it bends. Shout out to Obi and Neil for always saying that. But yeah, I think it's an important thing to learn. And I think, like, sometimes, you know, it's just important if the chart's telling you something, if the tape's telling you something, listen. Because, you know, like, stocks do not care about your feelings.
They
Big
don't.
thing I'm learning, the market does not give a hoot about how you feel.
Oh,
also, yeah, shout out to Roger with the sticky note, you know,
Nation.
muscle emoji. Yeah, sticky note nation. Shout out to Sean with the sticky note. Yeah, fabulous times. Boring man also shouting out the sticky note. Yeah, I'm happy with this Eli Lilly trade. That was my big trade of the day. Gonna be honest, I had a little bit of, you know, a couple rough trades on NVIDIA starting off this 2024, but you know what, there's nowhere to go but up. And I'm excited to see what the rest of this year holds in the market.
Another big cap name that's very red on the day, not just Apple. Apple's down 3.94. By the way, just broke that 185, is Netflix. Look at the chart here on NFLX. over 4% south today, giving up almost $20 worth of range on Netflix. And kind of the pivot point there for this bad boy was at 486, and we just got into 466. So Netflix giving up over 4% south today, 3.2% since the bell rang is Netflix to the downside. So the Meg 7, or if you want to include Netflix with them, the Meg 8 there, all heavily to the downside. What is the market cap of Netflix? 204 billion. Okay, so it's not the beast that it used to be, but still up there, I guess. What is the market cap of Meta? I just want to know quickly. 884, yeah, so it's the real deal there. Yeah, I wouldn't even include Netflix in the Meg 8 because just the market cap, you need to be above $500 million there. Come on. Yeah, NFLX big down on the day, followed next by Meta. Meta's down about 2.8%. It's not been a good day for Meta either, but the chart looks a little bit better on Meta, I have to say, than on Netflix. At least it had several bounces, whereas Netflix was just down into the right, essentially. We got to that 340 level today on Meta, so big move down on Meta. The pivot point here was at that 355 level. So it's not that $20 range like we have on Netflix, but $15, nothing to sneeze at here to the lows. But we are getting off the lows. We are kind of trying to fight for that 344 area, putting in a higher low, but no higher high as of yet. You need to break above that 347 for that higher high on META. Everything in the red today except for Tesla. Tesla is absolutely flat at the moment. It's up 0.02% on the day on TSLA. Go for 1 for 3 on this name. You can see how zigzaggy it's been here. Try to, get the breakdown. We tried to get the move back up, and then ended up getting cut up on Tesla. So when you have this kind of straddling price action like we do on Tesla with that 251, pardon me, to the high side, which is the pivot point, and then look at this. Look how well it held S1. Stay away from these names because I'm not much of a range trader, to be honest, but Tesla in the middle of the range and causing me a lot of grief. All right, let's go back into small cap land. There goes LBPH knocking on the door of that 321. So did it just make a new high a day? Let's find out here on LBPH. Yes, close. 2150 is the high a day. We just broke through 21. We're in the 21-ish, 21 teenish area, up 246%. This one really getting going here, and the volume really starting to come in. As you can see down here, the volume starting to pick up a little bit, and there goes the high of day, 2201 now, the high of day on LBPH, really going here, 273%. $22.68 is the high day, so the squeeze is on LBPH. Very, very strong right now, but be careful. It's very spready and very volatile. So if you're printed on this, I couldn't be happy for you, but if you're thinking about getting in on some of this price action, just make sure that you have a plan and you are managing risk accordingly, because you can find yourself $2-3 out of the money within a heartbeat. So yeah, be careful there, guys, but good luck on LBPH gapping up.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just making this face because I'm watching LBPH and I am like stunned. This reminds me of when I was, the ARM IPO was the first IPO I witnessed. It reminds me of watching the tape on that ARM IPO. Like we went, like once it broke that $60 range, it was kind of moving, maybe not this aggressively, but kind of in that same way. It's crazy to watch. I have to say, Longboard Pharmaceutical is taking that ramp to the upside right now. Got to get another pun because why not? Yeah. But yeah, this is I think a really interesting look, really good look. Not one that would probably stress me out a little bit much, or a little bit here, but yeah, like I think,
market's going to
yeah, it just broke 16.7. It's headed down aggressively. Ooh. We're very close to 16.685. We're at 16.690. So we're very close to low a day.
Yeah, it looks like we're testing that bottom again. Yeah, it's a rough look for the markets, but not a rough look for everybody in Longboard Pharmaceuticals right now. Yeah, I think it's a really interesting look on this one. Also, Eli Lilly making another lower high, so it looks like this one is getting more and more compressed. Happy I got out where I did. Yeah, definitely just looking to kind of, it was nice to play a name I'm a bit more familiar with and I like, in the sim today, and I first trading day of 2024. Please just punch about how this turned out, and excited to continue to learn and grow as we head into this new year. I'm hoping everybody in the chat was having fabulous, first trading day of the year, either, making some profit or learning a little bit with all of us today. We enjoyed our first scanner day and excited to do some more talks about scanners and, watch list, finding stocks heading into the new year. But it looks like it is 2 o'clock. So we are going to say sayonara for now. Peace out. We'll see you tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. But for now, Brendan is at the big desk.
Hey guys, yeah, welcome in. 2 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon here as we head through the first trading session of 2024. Turning out to be a pretty negative one. I'll show you why here in a few minutes. But we'll start things off with this. This is the U.S. 10-year right now. Did get back above the 4% mark briefly this morning. Has pulled back since, but still hovering around 3.96.